Hello, Joe Ramone here with Ryan Lancello,
Hello.
and we're doing a special introduction for this episode because there was a pretty bad audio screw-up on our part. We sat there for about 4 hours in total doing the Patreon episode and this main episode, and I thought we sounded great. We had a great discussion.
It's phenomenal. Everything sounded perfect.
And then I get home to edit the footage and discover that instead of GarageBand picking up the soundboard audio, it was actually picking up just the internal mic in my MacBook, which is not the best for recording a podcast. So we were pretty panicked, but then we threw it up on Patreon to ask what they wanted us to do, and we threw them a sample, and they said, yeah, it doesn't sound that bad, so you guys should just release it. So I played around with the audio a little bit. I did some normalization and other editing to make it sound a bit better, but it's still not up to the same audio standards as our other content.
No, it's certainly listenable, but yeah, like you said, it's not as perfect, polished as it normally is. But I think you'll still be able to enjoy it nonetheless.
Just sounds like your standard couple of schmucks on Zoom podcast, pretty much. But I think it's a great episode, and we obviously wanted to salvage it. So without further ado, with some audio inconsistencies, here is our episode on The Cable Guy.
Cable Guy!
He's courteous.
Is there a problem with your service?
He's charming.
Can I have your skin? Silence of the lambs.
And once you let him into your house,
Let's get it on.
you'll never get him out of your life.
All right already!
Jim Carrey. Matthew Broderick. The Cable Guy.
Here's a comment card. Please mail it in when I am done.
Rated PG-13.
Hello, welcome back to Almost Cult Classics, the podcast. My name is Joe Ramone. With me, my friend and co-host, Ryan Lancello.
Howdy, folks.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
And part of the reason I think for that is we're doing The Cable Guy, which is 1996. This is going to be one of those movies where people give a shit for that it's the cult classic, but I know, but it's one of those movies where
I guess you could.
Here's what I want to say.
Is it does it have a big cult following? I don't think it does.
Again, my barometer for this has always been, is it getting midnight screenings? Is there licensed merchandise? I'm sure there is at some point. And in reality, there are bigger cult classics than The Cable Guy. I think that's what we're trying to say. Nearly cult classic? I don't know. Fuck it, whatever. But this was a movie.
We really can't change the title.
Whatever. We're stuck with the domain, the branding, the Patreon. We're locked in. So we should just talk about Rocky Horror Picture Show and just be like, go all the way out.
Like, is it a good?
Is it? We don't know. This is a movie that's been on our radar for a long time. I'm assuming you had seen it growing up. I mean, it's one that I had seen growing up. I think we were just talking before we started recording, the almost cult classic element of it for me, and when you look at Jim Carrey's career, it was like, it wasn't quite as big as the other movies he had done leading up to that. It wasn't a flop. It kind of did get forgotten about for a long time, but in terms of where like Carrey's career was, because we're going to talk about Carrey on our Patreon show.
Yeah.
We're doing we revisited the Ace Ventura movies for the first time in years. I saw Liar Liar. You finally watched the documentary Jim and Andy on Netflix. So Patreon, $5 a month. Sign up. We're really going to dive into deep on Jim Carrey's career on the after show for that.
And there's 40 plus episodes you have not heard if you're not on our Patreon.
I know. There's a wealth.
It's $5.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Patreon.com/Almost Cult Classic.
But I think what motivated me to want to do this movie is when we did our little catch up with Batman Forever, and I had revisited that, and it kind of motivated me to be like, I wonder if some of that early Carrey work holds up. But in looking at his filmography, I mean, you have those 3 movies in '94, the Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, and The Mask, huge hits.
It made him.
And then Batman Forever, which, say what you want about the movie, another huge hit and huge payday for him. And then I guess with this, it was just like, while it was successful, it was also like, I don't think people expected it to be as dark as it was.
Yeah, and it has a bad reputation. There's that Simpsons joke where they go to like a Planet Hollywood type restaurant, and the script for The Cable Guy is on the wall. And he's like, what's the joke? He's like, that's the movie that ruined Jim Carrey's career. Like,
in reality,
I don't feel like trying to do it right now.
Jim Carrey's like first flop, ironically enough, is Man on the Moon, which we're going to talk about. Like, that's really the first one that's like, oof, that did not hit the same levels. But
right. Well, it just wasn't an uber. The Cable Guy wasn't the uber hit the previous 3 had been.
Right.
And it also wasn't as. He's playing a broad character, but it's not as just broadly comedic as the other 3 movies are.
Which is something I like about this movie.
Yeah.
I think that the darkness to it, that menacing edge to it, is kind of what makes this movie more enjoyable.
Sure.
But what was your relationship with this movie growing up? How did you feel revisiting it now?
Well, I was just like everyone else. I was a kid. Well, not everyone else, but at my age.
Yeah.
It's Ace Ventura. As a kid, you're loving it. I didn't love The Mask as a kid. Like, I wonder, that I didn't revisit. I really should, because I'm like, I wonder if I would. I like the idea of it. I just remember there was something about the tone I didn't like as a kid. Something, I didn't hate it. I'd watch it if it was on, but I was just left like, meh, I don't know. And then Dumb and Dumber is fucking classic.
Yeah.
Like, it's hilarious. And then you're like, you're super hyped for, The Cable Guy. This looks silly. Another just silly Jim Carrey movie. And I was, God, who knows? I was probably maybe 10 when I saw this movie for a 10-year-old.
This in theaters, or this was
No, I saw it when it came out.
Okay.
It's just a little, as a kid.
Yeah, okay.
It's like, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't hit those, when you're a kid, it doesn't really hit the same, like, goofy levels as the other movies.
No, so, and it's more adult in the sense, not like, just that it's not Ace Ventura talking out of his ass.
Right.
It's this sad, lonely guy who's maybe psychotic.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was just meh. You just kind of were like, as a kid.
What did you think about it now, though?
I didn't hate it.
Okay.
I think it couldn't figure out, it had to pick, and it couldn't do it. Was it a comedy, or is it a sinister stalker movie? And it should have leaned more into the sinister stalker movie. That, I think the comedy would have came from that more. And
which apparently that was the original script, was a bit lighter.
No, it should have been darker.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But I think they had this blueprint of this. It's very
just like a goofy, annoying.
Well, it was saying "What About Bob" was the way it was pitched.
Okay,
it was very similar to "What About Bob," and
I hate that. I hate that movie in a sense.
We've talked about it. Is that a Frank Oz movie? Is that what we touched on? Where you're just like,
I hate Bob.
Yeah, I like the movie where the man is slowly losing his mind because the character he's pitted with has made him out to be the bad guy amongst his family and friends. It's very similar to What About Bob in that sense.
I like that. This movie takes way too long to get
there. Yeah.
And it's like, right.
And the most of you're done with is, I just love her and I wish I could get her back. It's the Matthew Broderick shit in this movie. It's like,
yeah, it's weak.
Yeah.
And he's a good foil for that. Like when he starts to finally
he is, but we talked about this, The Matador, when it was like, that movie was so refreshing because here you have that scenario, but the guy who's dealing with this bold, brash character is into it. Mm-hmm. And like there's so many times with Matthew Broderick, this movie, like, get out, how dare you? Like, it's just after a while you're like, all right, dude, just like, because there's a couple moments early on where like, when they're at the medieval times, and like then the camera swings around and like he's enjoying the crowd a little bit. I like it like that. Like I don't see like even the shit with the prostitute and like that's his big breaking point in this movie to force Chip out of his life. Like even that, it's like, all right, dude, like just like you're tired of seeing this character over and over again be like
do the same thing over, and that's what I'm saying. The movie takes too long for him to break
to get there,
and it's like, all right, dude, like make a decision. Like it's not fun spending time with a spineless character.
No,
where it's just like it's like, okay already, like make a fucking decision.
I will say though, I really enjoy this movie. I think the darkness works. I think Carrey is reined in a way where it works for the story. Mm-hmm. And obviously, this episode is going to be heavy on the director of this movie, Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
This is kind of his, was this his second feature film?
That he directs?
Yeah.
I believe so.
I mean, and when you look at his career, where it was up to at that point, kind of an odd choice to have him direct this movie, but I think it works. I watched pretty much everything Ben Stiller has directed, which we're going to go through his whole career and some of his acting and directorial work. I think it's the best thing he's directed. Mm-hmm. I think it looks the best. I think it's visually inventive. I think there's that dream, like nightmare sequence is really well put together.
Pretty good, yeah.
I don't know. It's a very well executed movie. Yeah, there's some parts that are a little uneven, but I don't know. I like this movie. I always like dark comedies like this, where that character is. It does work for me, but it polarized critics. It polarized audiences. No one can really seem to like you said, it wasn't the Jim Carrey movies that had been.
Right. And I don't know how much truth this, I didn't really look into it, but like, it is crazy. Like Jim Carrey's coming off an amazing run. He got paid $20 million,
which is insane.
This movie.
Yeah.
And other studios were pissed about that. Because, they're like, we got to pay him this now. Or this guy's going to come and want the Jim Carrey money, which kind of did happen. A lot of people, like, the paydays started to get out of control for these actors. So they were kind of burying the movie a little bit in the press.
Right.
Like, oh, a cable guy underperformed.
It was like an Ishtar situation, too, almost.
Yes, exactly.
People were ready to hate it because of that.
Right. And whereas, in reality, the movie didn't really bomb.
No.
It certainly made a profit.
No, but you also got to factor in when you like had that 20 million price tag for him, like how much money was it? Because I'm going to, a little bit later when we talk about the movie, I have this, the Chris Farley Show book. It's a really great book if you want to learn more about Chris Farley. It's written by his brother Tom. And it's like, instead of doing like just like a generic life to death kind of bio piece, it's each chapter is broken up with interviews of people who actually knew and worked with him.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's a very great way to write the book. But there's a whole section about how he was going to be the lead in the Cable Guy. He was going to be the Chip character, and they quoted him $3 million for it. So I mean, that was been a markedly different movie.
Too.
Yeah, I mean, and
that's weird to me.
What ends up happening is, I think it was Black Sheep is the movie that there was like a weird like contract thing where if Farley said yes to the Cable Guy, then they wouldn't do Black Sheep. But if Spade liked the script for Black Sheep, they would have to do Black Sheep. It was a very like contentious, weird thing that went on behind the scenes, but. Yeah, this is a script I think that had been around, and there had been rewrites, and obviously you got to touch on Apatow, someone we love talking about. He has his fingers all over this movie. But even on, it's worth touching on Patreon, Rory says, judging by the poster, I thought it was a horror film, as Chip's stare makes him out to be a slasher villain.
I think it's a great poster.
It is a great poster, but...
Sorry to cut you off. In that regard.
I was just going to say, it does, like... inspire this like menacing tone going into the movie. So it's interesting that
I mean, I don't think Carrey has really played sinister like that. I know there's that number 23 movie where he's kind of like nuts.
Yeah, but that's not like silly.
I don't want him to play sinister.
Yeah.
Play a bad guy.
He's kind of good in those Sonic movies. Have you seen any of those?
No, I saw a clip going around where he's like, it's like, he's Robotnik.
Yeah.
But it's like two of them.
Yeah, it's like an old man one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like he got his passion back in it, so whatever, dude.
We'll get into it on Patreon. $5 a month.
That's right.
What's that link?
That's patreon.com/almostcultclassics because we're stuck with it, so.
He's probably, I don't want to overspeak here, but like, is he the best physical performer of all time?
Certainly of our lifetime.
Right?
Yeah.
And then when you think about our lifetime, well, it's like, well, movies are only 150 years old. They're not like, so what, you have Chaplin, Jerry Lewis, Keaton.
Have you ever seen the clip where, I don't know if it's the first time they met, maybe they've been in passing, but it's Jerry Lewis is being honored at the Friars Club and he's being interviewed, but Jim Carrey comes up to, and I don't think they'd ever met, it seems that way. And Jerry Lewis, when he comes up and goes, hi, how are you? Jim Carrey shakes his hand. Jerry Lewis does, like, he was older at this point, like looks at him like, and goes, are you? And someone off camera goes, yes, that's him. And then Jim Carrey goes, yes, and you're the one that fucked my mother. And Jerry Lewis just died. It's a great thing to say. Like,
it's funny because I figured Jerry Lewis would hate him.
No, I mean, it's obviously the DNA is there.
Yeah. I mean, we keep
comedy DNA, I know.
Teasing the Patreon, but I'll get into it. Like, I think they relied in the Cable Guy a little too much on his physical stuff in the sense that you should rely on him.
I saw one I haven't seen in years with him that, but it was shocking how much he relied on that.
But I think they thought it was funnier than it actually was.
I suppose.
Where he's doing all this stuff, and I'm like, it's not working here. They should have not. I hesitate to say rein him in more, but I don't think it was used perfectly or as good as it could have been.
I suppose.
I think I'm telling you, it's too.
It works for me.
It's too reliant on he's spastic, and Matthew Broderick's not. And like to me, I'm like, okay, can we get a little more here though? Like it's a thin. Not enough happens in the movie for me. It wastes a ton of time.
Yeah,
but there's some great scenes in it. But I digress. To the comments. I'm sorry.
No, that was it. I'm going to shout out a few more of our patrons as we talk about Ben Stiller's career because they had some notes on that. But yeah, even Nate Gonzalez says Ben Stiller has come a long way as a director. And that's something that's very evident from the start. We're going to go in order and kind of talk about some of his films. The one I want to start with is actually one that I did a Blu-ray commentary for Kino Lorber, Hot Pursuit, which is Ben Stiller's...
It's available now?
It's available now. It's out.
Pick it up.
1987. I had never seen this movie when it got offered to me, so I was a little reluctant to go into it. But then I was like, you know what? That might be a really interesting thing to do. Let me do a commentary for one of these films that I'm not familiar with. And yeah, that was how it was. I had to dive deep into research and there's not a lot written about this movie. It's written and directed by Steven Lisberger, who created Tron. Oh, it's kind of like the only things he's really done is he's all the Tron shit, the video games, and this. And this is it's a John Cusack vehicle. It's a teen who is rushing to catch up with his girlfriend's family on vacation, and it just hijinks ensue. And it's Ben Stiller's first role. I think probably the only reason he ends up being in it is because Jerry Stiller is in it, who I think at that point was probably a bigger name than his son. And he plays Jerry Stiller's character's son. So it was probably like Jerry Stiller got the call.
How old is he in it?
I mean, it's 87 and Ben Stiller is born...
I mean, how does he look? What's he playing?
He looks like early 20s.
Is his
1965, so he's... Yeah.
Dude, his ears are in the 90s. I'm like, they're really big. I'm sure they're still big.
He was like 21, 22 in this movie.
Okay.
And yeah, he's the villain in it, but he plays Jerry Stiller's character's son. You can really see too, and they're like face to face how much they look alike. You don't really like but when they're looking at each other, you're like, oh, they look alike.
So Jerry Stiller and obviously his wife, Ben's mother, and Mira, they were like a comedy duo.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever?
Yeah, they're great. They're very funny.
I'm like not familiar with their bits at all.
Yeah, no, they're funny, and it seemed like by all accounts, Ben was trying to go more in a filmmaking behind the camera route, and then I think maybe they're like his ego pulled him in front of the camera in certain things. There's
maybe
certainly opportunity, but yeah, Hot Pursuit. It's interesting. It's certainly unlike the Ben Stiller we would come to see in other movies, but check it out. Not just because I did a commentary for it. It's just an interesting movie.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it's not. It's very strange. It's I can't quite explain it, but it feels like. There's a movie with John Cleese called Clockwise. I don't know if you ever saw that, where it's like, it's all about this headmaster that's real about time and like everything is detail oriented. And then just like he misses a train or something and his whole life falls apart in that 5 minutes, like everything.
I like stuff like that.
And so that's kind of what Hot Pursuit is. Okay. It's it's one after another and it's just
compounding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
And yeah, I mean, for Cusack being lead in the 80s, I always loved that stuff. So it was good. But following that, the next thing that I guess we have to talk about is Reality Bites.
Yes.
Which is his first film as a director.
Mm-hmm. 94.
I had never seen this.
I'd never seen it either.
What did you think of Reality Bites?
I didn't love it.
I thought Reality Bites.
Yeah, I didn't. It's so of its time.
I'm over this Gen X shit.
Well, dude, the thing is, I mean, it was made in 94.
It's so like...
I know, but you got like... the big problem with it is that it's so self-aware that it's 94.
It's whiny.
It's Ethan Hawke is detestable. His characters, and I know you don't have to like. I say this all the time. You don't have to like characters, but I'm like, dude, fuck yourself. Like, I'm like, I hate you.
Yeah.
Like,
every time he's on screen, you're just like,
and he's a brilliant genius according to everyone, and like,
and I guess that makes him a good actor. That he's, but it's
Ethan Hawke is a great actor
because you hate this character so much.
And it's not like it's how it's written.
Just love triangle shit. It's like this. What are
and of course I'm like, go with Ben Stiller.
Of course, he's the much better one.
He's a good guy. Like I said, the movie was so self-aware. Like you'd almost think it was made now to look back and be like, and it's just, the script is so heavy on the references, and like I was young then, I wasn't their age in 94. But dude, the pop culture shit, like it was a lot like that to a degree that it was annoying. Like every line out of their mouth is a reference to a sitcom or Pepsi or Domino's or I don't know, man. I like Janine Garofalo. I think
there's something else in this. I'll remember when it comes to it. But like, I think I said this in Mystery Men, but like, I love Aubrey Plaza, but she really did kind of take her whole vibe. It's like, I'm just this, I don't care. I'm like,
tired. I'm over that. I'm not saying that's all she's done. She's done other things, but yeah, the vibe is.
When you see Janine Garofalo do it, you're like, oh, she was doing this exact same thing for decades.
Yeah.
And I know,
I always like when she pops up in movies doing this shit. She's good in this. Once again, it's the script is.
What are some other movies like that fall into that? It's like Chasing Amy, Singles.
Singles. I remember like that was the thing. It's like almost this was. Another studio's Singles, I think, it was getting.
Well, this is produced by Danny DeVito, and he does that. Was it Jersey Films?
Schamberg.
And apparently, we were going to watch the Ben Stiller show. It's just not something we had time to get to. I'm definitely going to check it out now.
Too, but I thought it was like 6 episodes. It's 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just don't have the time.
And it says here, the film's producer saw the pilot episode for the Ben Stiller show and approached him to direct it and not act in it. So I don't know how he comes to act in it, but...
They wanted to have they had to add like a love triangle thing, almost. Like he worked with this Helen Childress to tune the script up a little bit.
But why is he... I think one of the best elements of The Cable Guy is that he can concentrate specifically on directing. I think his movies, when he's in them, it's only...
One thing I'll say about Reality Bites is that he's aided tremendously by the cinematographer, Emmanuel, I always fuck his name up. I always want to say Lubezki. It's Lubezki. He's
one of the
greats.
Yeah.
Like the movie looks great. It's a well-directed film.
Who also, by the way, was the cinematographer on the Mike Myers Cat in the Hat. And if you knew
really?
that, yeah.
Hey, man.
That movie, I've defended it. You play it on mute. It's a fucking cool looking movie.
Yeah,
the sets and everything.
For sure.
Anyway.
But, it's a good looking movie. I will say this, it was one of those movies where it starts, I'm just like, oh no. Because they're doing it's all the camcorder stuff. Like Winona Ryder's like a documentarian, and I'm like...
This shit gets old.
Oh, it's that navel gazing of the 90s, where it's like, we're trying to figure out our lives in the 90s, and like, oh my God, I'm like, oh my God, I don't fucking care.
You know what's really great too is that obviously there's this one, she's Winona Ryder, who I like in this.
She's not bad in this. I will say, go ahead.
She's like trying to put together this documentary of her friends, and Ben Stiller has like connections in the TV industry. His character,
it's like an MTV type channel.
Yeah, and so they take all the tapes and recut it, and they do like a screening of it. It completely like destroys her work, but it's Viva La Bam. It's the exact same of what that style would be in these things.
It was MTV at that time.
Yeah,
that's what MTV shit looked like, and it's so funny too because she's all pissed off, and I remember watching it. I was like, well, they did a pretty good job. Like, I didn't think it was...
Yeah, your mopey, boring friends, they transformed it. Yeah, this would play well. And she's all, like, upset, like they fucking pissed on her artwork. It's not...
You know what it looks like a lot like? It's
that's some mopey, whiny shit in this movie.
Terrible. But the first, like, season or two of The Real World, that's what that looked like, that kind of editing.
John Mahoney good in it.
John Mahoney's hilarious.
Needs more, should be in it more.
He's really funny.
A piece of shit morning show host.
I love how he just, good morning. It was Good Morning Grant was the show, right?
Yeah.
She's like an intern on the show initially.
Yeah.
He's hilarious.
It's funny, you forget not that he's not great in Frasier, but when he's not doing like, my sons are such assholes, like, he's actually a pretty good actor. Like in Barton Fink, you see him doing that Faulkner character. Like, he's a great actor.
But he really caught me off guard in this. Of that, like, peppy was fake because he turns on a dime. And just,
all those old ladies in the audience. It's fun.
It's really funny. It's not a terrible movie.
Concentrate the movie on that. Joe Don Baker will be like, he's good in it.
He's good. It's just like you said, it's mopey and like, our lives and we need to get rent. And I'm like, I just don't care. The funny thing is, Janine Garofalo was 29 when she made this movie, and she's like, I didn't get it. she's like, it was seemed to be made for like 21-year-olds, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, that's refreshing.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit. Plus, not only that, she was fired off the movie by Ben
Stiller. Oh yeah, right, yeah.
These two have been worked together. They dated, I think, but she was on the Ben Stiller show, and he fired her.
Yeah.
Because she even said, she's like, I'm terrible with this. She's like, I don't want to harass. She's like, but Winona Ryder, they got close. Her and Winona dragged her back in. But there's one scene because the Janine Garofalo character is like banging every dude in sight, like keeping a list, and like it's the early '90s, so gotta go to the free clinic and get the AIDS test. Oh no!
Yeah,
it's so funny though because like Winona Ryder's filming all the stupid friends, and there's one point where like they're waiting for the results. And it's like negative, and they're like cheering and stuff, and I'm like, "You're in the clinic."
Yeah,
like someone in there
might get getting it. I do like the element with the Winona Ryder's father, played by Joe Don Baker, gives her a gas card that says like, "I'll pay the bill for the first year," and she starts like her and her friends start like living off the convenience store gas station food because they're so broke and they're just using the card. And then she works out a scam where she's using the card to pay for people's gas and they're giving her cash in return. So it's there's some fun stuff in it, but it's ultimately just like
there's one scene where it's like Winona Ryder goes on the date with Ben Stiller and then she comes home and Ethan Hawke is sitting in the dark like an ass.
Yeah,
and he like he does he's like, what do you want me to say? I love you? Because I do. And he's like, just kidding, dude. She in that scene looks like an anime waifu.
What does that mean?
Her eyes are huge, dude. I mean, she's very beautiful, but I'm just like, holy shit. Like she's, Lubezki, she's lit perfectly. I'm like, oh my God. It was like it was really striking. I couldn't let the audience will understand anime waifu. You maybe not so
I
much.
have no idea what you're talking about. You might as well be speaking a different language.
Yeah. But dude, I'm like, wow. I'm like, she really was she's a striking woman. And I don't think she's the best actress. She's fine in this. She's not bad.
Yeah, it's her speed.
It's the material, man.
Yeah.
It's like,
I just don't ever want to see this like Gen X, like, oh, we're struggling shit ever. Like, it's really.
And not only that, she's got money.
I know.
Like, her dad's rich.
She's working in television. It's just, yeah.
I'm like, I don't got a ton of sympathy. Like, yeah, but not the worst movie. I think it looks great. It's very well directed. I just, like you said, I just don't care.
Well, the following year, that's the remarkable thing, that Ben Stiller goes from this mopey performance to Heavyweights in 1995, which is a movie that
it's a classic.
I mean, watching it, it's one of those movies you discover when you're a kid. And you're like, oh, this is speaking my language in every possible way. It's the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
It was probably like a top 5 kid movie.
Yeah. Then
anytime it was on, you had to stop and watch Heavyweights.
You forget about it. I have not wanted to revisit this movie because I'm like, I have this nice childhood memory and it's so nice. And I don't want to fucking, as frequently happens, you revisit something, you're like, but I've had the Blu-ray on my shelf forever, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. We're doing the Ben Stiller. I'm gonna watch this movie. Dude, this movie holds up. It doesn't surprise. It's not incredibly funny. And I'm gonna say this. This might be controversial. I don't think it should be. It's the best thing Judd Apatow has ever been involved in.
Okay.
Now that we're 20 years removed from that stretch he did this is the funniest.
Look at everything.
This is the funniest, in my opinion, the funniest, best written thing he's ever done. It's fucking hysterical, this movie.
It's great.
It's a great kids movie.
Like, just like the whatever they call it, the Olympiad at the end.
It's phenomenal.
Kid, they're putting it's fucking great.
And not only that, it's like, oh my God, of course. Like, there's callbacks to things that have happened. The one kid shaves, so there's a challenge, shave the balloon, and he's doing it really. The other thing I totally forgot about is Kenan Thompson's in this movie. He's one of the kids. He's great. Like, he is really funny in this movie. There's that scene where they all go fucking nuts when they get rid of Tony Perkis, who's Ben Stiller's character, and they all are around the campfire. They're just eating all the food, throwing it themselves. And the next morning, Tom McGowan, who is another, just
he's
great.
The fat guy, right? He's great in this movie.
It's a perfect casting. He's so endearing and fun.
Who's the lady?
The nurse. She's great.
Cute.
Is it Leia?
I forget her name.
Yeah, Leia Lale. I don't think she's done too much.
Wow, Lale. That's weird.
Lale.
Culture as the character. Yeah, she was so adorable. But as a kid, I'm like, I like her.
They all like, they're basically like all hungover, and they're like, the next morning, and Pat, that's Tom McGowan's character, is like, and I bet we all learned something. And Kenan Thompson just goes, "Don't put Twinkies on your pizza." It's just funny. It's a funny fucking movie. Ben Stiller, it's like a Star is Born moment. It's
so funny.
It's like, this guy was just, I know the Ben Stiller show, whatever, but like, holy fuck. Like, it's a fucking powerhouse performance. It's funny all the way through.
It's an extremely good comedic performance.
There's that scene where, like, the way he fluctuates from, like, when the kids are, like, trying to trap him, and they're like, "Uncle Tony, we heard you can't do a push-up if you're blindfolded." And then he's like, "Well, I would rock your world, Gerald." And, like, he does the push-up, and that's not, the Sean Weiss kid. That's like the real big Jewish-looking kid who's, I think, in Mighty Ducks too. He's another funny. You're like, what? Why is this guy not bigger? Wow. But I know he's had some legal problems. But he moons him, and so when Tony, and he goes, "Oh my, you disgust me!" Like,
doesn't he chop his?
He chops his legs.
There's another scene too where I think he's doing like the back cartwheel or whatever you want to call it, the back handspring.
Yeah.
Doesn't he slip?
Yeah, he slips and crashes into the wall.
That shit like that is so
and like they have this parents' weekend where like they've cut together Alan Covert or Convert. What is his name? Covert from the Sailor movies is the cameraman for Uncle Tony.
Yes.
And so they they buy the footage from him and they cut together like this sizzle reel what's actually been going on, and they're showing all the parents how horrible it is. And at one point, that just shows the kids starting to eat a rat, and like I think it's Julie turns to Pat and is like, "That was an interesting." He's like, "Yeah, I thought it spiced up a little bit. It's clearly fake." They're just like, and then it cuts to he's escaped, that he's in the back window. He's like, "Oh, the suspense!" And he's clapping. He starts throwing the cups and stepping on the dude. Here's the other thing, and it's like, why did you not keep doing this? Paul Feig as the other camp counselor. Why the fuck did you not just be like a comedy supporting man?
He got a chance to direct.
And I get that. If that's what you want to do, Boob, he is really funny in this movie.
Well, I like how he's formerly fat. I appreciated that.
He's just goofy.
He doesn't look like he would be.
He's a perfect, I
loved him. I love the
Why the fuck did he not keep acting?
Him, what's his name? The other counselor?
Tom McGowan?
And the Layla.
Yeah.
I loved those three.
It's really funny.
They're perfect, man. And they're like,
and
it's what you wanted adults to be when you were a kid.
Yes.
Like that. Like understanding, but still.
It's a kid's movie that doesn't treat its kid audience like kids. I regurgitate that a lot on Hats Off, where I'm like, I hate kids movies that fucking drop down and pander to kids. It's like,
well, yeah.
This has adult themes. It's funny. It deals with like body issues. Like it's just handled so fucking well.
Shy away from
Stiller and Mira, by the way, in it as the original camp owners.
Yeah, and how funny is it when Tony Perkis Sr. shows up? And that killed me as a kid.
It's like you almost forget it's going to happen.
It killed me, man.
And it's just like
he's so low key.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I mean, if you want it, you can keep it running. Like he just like doesn't give a shit. The get off the scale scene, that's another one. He's like, camera's on. All right, come on, get up there, get off the scale. Because all the kids have gained weight. They're like, it really is. It's the greatest thing Judd Apatow's ever done. I can say it.
Total classic.
And yeah, again, Paul Feig. It's just so interesting to see him. I don't think I've ever told you my Paul Feig story.
Please tell me.
This is going to make me out to be. I don't know. This is like, when did that movie The Interview come out? Because it relates to that. 2014. Okay, so when those Sony email leaks happened, it was, I don't know about you, but I would devour those fucking news stories.
I wish I would have read more of them at the time. They're really funny. We brought this up before, but I love how they blamed North Korea. I do not buy that whatsoever.
It's also just like, I remember when those came out and reading all the stories, I'm like, oh, I'm never making it in Hollywood. Like, I'm not making it in this industry. This is a horrible, horrible industry. But there is just, dude, there's so many nuggets in that fucking, layers of stories that came out. But I was a big fan of Paul Feig, and he got roped up in this because as this was going on, that Ghostbusters shit was happening. Sure. And I probably still can go. You can read them emails.
Oh, for sure. Oh,
but they didn't censor any of the so his email was on there. So I'm like, I read he wrote books. They're not like super lengthy. They're just fun little biographical, really funny stuff that I'd read when I was younger. And I loved them, and I liked Freaks and Geeks. So I was like, this is back when I was like, I'm going to shoot my shot. And I reached out to his email, and I must be like 20 years old at this point. And I was just like, hey, like, I just want to let you know, I think I was honest. I was like, I got your email from the reading that. I've always admired your writing, and I just, I forget what I said, but he got back to me.
No way.
I swear to God. And I remember in that email I had said, I want to be a comedy director. So maybe if you're ever directing something, I could just come and learn and see how it's done and visit the set.
Which is actually sensible.
What?
People do that all the time.
Oh, yeah. Well, he was like, I'm CCing my assistant on this. If you're ever in Southern California, next time shoot us an email, let us know. We'll get you. Like, it was just like.
Can we still do that?
I know. To the 20 years later, I follow up on it.
Hey, how you doing?
No, 12 years later, but he didn't have to do it. And dude, and I'm sure he was getting dogpiled with shit to that email.
Immediately never use that email again.
No, so the fact that, and you know what? In hindsight, like 10 years after removed from that
what
whole.
If you were the only email he got from that.
He was just like, why is no one emailing me? That Ghostbusters movie, I don't blame him. I think going after the fans on Twitter when he was doing that shit was a little like.
That was stupid, but I
don't blame him for.
Sympathize a little bit, and you want to defend your movie, your actors.
Amy Pascal. That movie reeks of her terrible decisions, and
still has a job, right?
In some fashion, but yeah. Anyway, he didn't have to do that, and that's something I can really enjoy about Heavyweights. If you haven't seen this movie since you're a kid, revisit it, watch it with your kids. It's just it holds up. I mean, really great comedy, and yeah, I mean Ben Stiller. It's like you're watching this, you're like, oh, this guy's going to be a fucking mega millionaire, huge box office star at some point in his life, because it's a really funny performance, consistently funny.
Had me in tears.
Yeah,
I'm sure it would now. It's so funny.
You should check it out, revisit it.
I probably will.
But directing that movie is Stephen Brill, who becomes kind of the Happy Madison director, but he also directs Happy Gilmore,
which is another.
I'm sorry, that's Dennis Dugan, but
it still had a hilarious Ben Stiller cameo,
who's in the sequel.
Yeah.
We got our release date,
Oh,
July 25th.
Okay. Well, we'll be talking about it.
But yeah, we touched on that. I'm going to do the you suggested to do the rest of the Sandler movies to coincide with the Happy Gilmore sequel. But yeah, the Hal the Orderly.
You will go to sleep, or I will put you to sleep. In tears, and he's got the
little mustache. Yeah.
It's so fucking funny.
That's
man.
what I like. Ben Stiller playing these like over the top large. That's why I should revisit Dodgeball. I haven't seen Dodgeball since it came out.
It's funny. I haven't seen it so long.
But like we talked about with Mystery Men, it's like when he does that character, because like, oh, I'm sorry, did you little poo poo? Yeah,
he can't find the words.
Yeah, it's like oh, look at you, I'm a big man. Want to fight with daddy? What was that? Like that shit. It's just like
I like when he knows what he's saying.
Yeah,
so the Perkins character is so funny.
Yeah, it's a great character, and yeah, and that's what I mean. When he does these character roles, I enjoy it more.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, obviously super funny in Happy Gilmore. And that same year, he is in a movie I never saw, but I watched it for this. Also, The Cable Guy came out in '96, so I guess maybe he directed The Cable. I don't know. Yeah, these things.
Yeah, who knows how they get shuffled around?
Right. But it's David O. Russell's Flirting with Disaster, and I remember seeing this '96, so I'm a kid.
Which is how to describe David O. Russell's career.
Yeah, I mean, you forget though, like, you know, as I'm watching this, and I'm like, wait a second, because I haven't seen his new stuff. I know he did that movie. Was it Amsterdam? I heard mixed things about that.
And he did that Mop movie too, didn't he? Joy.
Did he do that?
Yeah, he did.
I couldn't remember. And he had that movie Nailed that never came out.
Silver Linings Playbook was a really big movie around this area because it's local. Yeah, and like in hindsight, I think everyone just totally forgot. There's still, I'm not going to name the restaurants. It's not the one that's in the movie, but I happen to be. Yeah, but I happen to be, let's just say, another big restaurant around this area. They have like a fucking shrine to this movie with like a signed poster. I'm like, well, you aren't in the movie. Why do you give a shit?
I think after the fact, because I used to go to Lanark Diner all the time.
They have a plaque at the booth.
I was going to say, I think I sat in the booth, and I was like, oh, we're in the booth.
You know what? And that deserves praise as being like one of the last in this area. Certainly like a fucking classic diner that's been untouched by
the Northeast. I can't speak for the rest of the country. There's still a couple, especially in our area. It's pretty. There's a fair amount of diners,
but not like the railway car looking.
No, but Jersey, this Southeast.
Yeah, the Jersey ones though are all like they're like neon lights and big fucking upholstery. You know, like nifty 50s type.
I'm such a diner nut.
I love them too, man.
I love them.
If we ever go to LA, we'll hit up some of the. Especially Bob's Big Boy, we gotta do.
I have to.
Yeah, you'll like it.
But yeah. So I had never seen this, but what I was gonna say was, I forget. Like he is funny. This movie's funny. Mm-hmm. I was really surprised. I remember seeing the commercials for a kid, and
as a kid.
What did I say?
For a kid.
For a kid.
One of those kids, the Shriners asking for money. The commercials for the kids.
But I remember just seeing commercials as a kid, and it was the scene of Mary Tyler Moore. Like, she's an older woman. She's got her bra. She's like, look at my breasts. What do you think of these breasts? And I just remember, it's like, I bring this up all the time. I'm like, this is a movie for adults. Like, and it kind of is. And it's Ben Stiller and Patricia Arquette are married. They just had a kid. He was adopted, and he wants to meet his real parents because he can't name his kid before he kind of figures out. Like, he's hung up on that. Dude, I loved this movie.
Wow.
It's so screwball. He ends up, the woman at the adoption agency, played by Tia Leone, she's like, let me document you.
Oh, okay.
They love the camcorder.
How's she in it?
And that she's good.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's real screwball. But like, it's like they go to California to meet with this woman. It turns out it's not his mother. And like, it's funny because it's Ben Stiller. She's like, yeah, and your great grandfather was a Confederate general, and he's like, really? Like, he's Ben Stiller. Like, and you can tell he's not. But it's just, he looks very like Jewy, and like they're like very waspy, and he's like, huh? And like, turns out it's not. Then they go to like Michigan to find a guy. Like, it's one of those movies that bops around. But like, there's like Josh Brolin and Richard Jenkins are playing this FBI agent duo.
Oh, that's cool.
Who are also a gay couple. And like, there's like,
see a great cast: Mary Tyler Moore and George Segal, and
dude, those two are hilarious together.
Lily Tomlin.
Then you have Lily Tomlin and Alan Alda, who are
wait. So she worked with him again? No, that was I Heart Huckabees.
Huckabees.
All right. She knew what she was getting into then. If she worked with him now,
well, she says it now. She's like, we're fine, we're friends. Like, but dude, like, it's really Mary Tyler Moore, George Segal, Alan Alda, and Lily Tomlin. They're hilarious in this movie as like the two parents, essentially.
Yeah.
Like they're the adopted, and the Alda Tomlin are like the actual parents who are like aging hippies who are making LSD in their basement in New Mexico. Dude, this movie is fucking hilarious.
I'm gonna check it out. I didn't. You threw a few suggestions at me, and I picked one.
Right. Which was way more your speed.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think this one.
I will check this out.
This movie could have been like really sentimental because he's finding his family, blah blah, and it's heartfelt at times, but it's way more like it hits that screwball speed. Really good. I was surprised. I'm surprised it's not talked about more. It's a really funny movie.
I see that Miramax label on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was that time. The 90s were the era of Miramax for sure.
David O. Russell, I have to check out some of that early stuff because I feel like I'll like it more than the newer stuff. Like I feel like after
Three Kings.
No.
It's fucking great.
Yeah, I got
his best movie. It's really good. It's a heist movie in Iraq.
And
during the Desert Storm.
Spanking the Monkey looks pretty.
You know what that's about?
No. Let me go in blind.
I'll let you go in blind
right.
on that one. It's an interesting film.
It's not like one of those Gallo movies that ends with someone getting blown, is it?
Blown how? What do you mean?
When what's that? Vincent Gallo. Is there a sexual? By the way, we were talking in text. I was like, because I always check and see what's been added.
I think it might surprise you.
What's been added to streaming, and there's this Richard Dreyfuss movie called Inserts, which apparently is like NC-17, this softcore pornography, basically. I'm like, we should definitely check that out for like a one-off because it's just.
Well, maybe at the end of the episode we'll tease what we have coming up.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right. But then
not a bad idea though.
After Flirting with Disaster is The Cable Guy, and then there's a movie called Zero Effect. Which, dude, how did I not hear of this movie?
It's really weird with you. You love PI shit. And I do too, but you're really into it. Like
love it.
Private Detective.
Love it.
And we neither of us had seen
Neo-noir. I love this movie.
It's pretty good.
It's Sherlock Holmes. It's like a modern...
what was the one they kind of based off of?
A Scandal in Bohemia. Yeah. It's great. It's a little uneven. Mm-hmm. It's very convoluted at times, but if you really pay... Like, you have to pay attention. Yeah. There's so much detail being set up, and...
Stiller's kind of the Holmes to Bill Pullman's, I'm sorry.
Other way around.
Yeah, Stiller's Watson to Bill Pullman's Holmes.
Written and directed by Jake Kasdan, son of Lawrence Kasdan, who hasn't really done, like, I do believe, ironically enough, I think he wrote the Dial of Destiny that mangled throughout to start over.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. The good script, as they would say. Did I send you those, the concept art? I know I have.
I think you did.
It looked I don't want to.
No.
There's just some. No.
Man, that has left the bitterest of tastes in your mouth.
Yeah,
I don't feel the same, but
all right.
I just had no expectations.
You haven't seen it since it came out, though.
I did. I saw some of it. I was watching it on a plane.
That's not the same thing. Anyway,
and then I put on Fargo. I just enjoyed Fargo.
Zero Effect. It's a great. I don't want to talk too much about this movie in case no one's seen it. I'm going to recommend.
We can almost come back to it.
It might be. Well, someone. Let me see if I pulled the Patreon comment. Yeah, Tyler says, I've heard Zero Effect talked about with praise. Definitely seems almost cult classic-y to me. And agreed. It has those makings to be that.
Yeah, we should maybe keep that in our back pocket.
I guess there's a TV pilot that comes out after this with Alan Cumming as Zero. Why? I assume it flopped, right? Yeah, 2 million on 5. It should have been a series.
Pullman's great.
He's great.
He's really good.
Stiller's great. Again, because he's not doing the.
He's not doing that. Well, can I?
And there's room to do that here because he's basically being ran around like a gopher by his boss, who is Pullman. I love the idea too that there's a private detective who refuses to meet face to face with his clients, so he sends his assistant, who's Ben Stiller's character, in to do all. It adds like this allure to the character, but it's still like. It walks a very fine line between like being like bumbling, goofy private detective Peter Sellers type thing with disguises to like, I like that it very finely walks that line.
One thing I like too is like Bill Pullman's getting pulled. I'm sorry, Jesus Christ, it's been a while. I'm a little rusty. Ben Stiller's kind of, his girlfriend wants to get married to him. She wants to give him up this life that's dragging him all over the place. But he's the only guy that can really work with Bill Pullman, and you can tell in certain scenes like. The Stiller character likes it. He is enjoying. He's like, because it's slick,
right?
Like it is. It's
lively, yeah.
They're operating like.
Also, Ryan O'Neal, great in this movie, yeah. So, really, thank you for recommending this because never even been on my radar. And
but that's 98. So you got 4 movies in 98. You got Zero Effect. There's Something About Mary, which is probably
like now it's
a comedy classic,
right?
Right.
I don't know. I mean,
fairly. Dumb and Dumber is probably their funniest
We
movie.
talked about doing Shallow Hal, so maybe we'll revisit the Farrelly Brothers at some
There's
point.
Something About Mary is so good.
Yeah.
I fucking love that movie.
Yeah. I haven't seen it since like VHS, I feel like. It's just been a while.
Oh, wow, you should watch it.
I know.
Man.
I tried watching.
It holds up.
I was going to touch on it, but I don't have much to say, but I tried watching Me, Myself, and Irene. And I was just like, got like 30 minutes in. I was like, I can't.
It's too much.
Yeah, it really is too much. He's just.
You go gross out.
He's just like let loose. The funny thing is him with all the black sons, Anthony Anderson's really funny.
Really funny.
And Steve Sweeney as his piece of shit neighbor.
Yeah.
He comes out of the house in the morning and goes like, you see my newspaper? He's like, yeah, wife's got it in the shitter right now. It's like, he's just like that funny shit. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of Jim Carrey. I was like, I'm going to.
But there's Something About Mary, man. I think it still holds up. I think it's their best. He also does Your Friends and Neighbors, which I should have watched. I want to get into this early Neil LaBute. In the Company of Men, I've always heard is a brutal movie. Aaron Eckhart's just a total scumbag. Neil LaBute's an odd fellow.
He is.
And I kind of want to get into his stuff. It's kind of...
Oh, he did the remake of The Wicker Man, the Cage one.
Yes. He's still like Nurse Betty, some other stuff too, but he's an odd one because
he does seem that way.
He's a Mormon, and he does these movies about like the shitty way we are to each other. Like,
yeah.
I want to get into it. It's definitely up my alley. But then after that same year, Stiller does Permanent Midnight.
Now, before we get into this movie, I have never seen this movie. I would love to read the book, so don't get too in-depth on how it progresses, because the writer of the bock, Jerry Stahl, wrote one of my favorite books, which is I, Fatty.
I'm so stupid. I'm watching this movie, and I'm like, oh yeah, Jerry Stahl died. And I'm like, wait a second. I'm thinking it's the guy that wrote Leaving Las Vegas, John O'Brien. And I'm like, he's dead.
Yeah.
He killed himself.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm like, oh, yeah, Jerry Stahl killed himself. And then I'm like, wait a second. As the movie's going on, I'm like, wait, I Fatty. Like, I totally forgot about that. Jerry Stahl's still alive,
yeah.
by the way.
I gave you a copy of that book, by the way.
I have it. Yeah.
Okay, you should read that book.
I will. Dude, I will.
I know.
My desk is
but that's pushed to the top. It's a fucking great book.
I will. I'll definitely try to do that. Might make a good episode.
Plus, you have the better. I have a copy of it, but you have the one that on the cover is the Johnny Depp quote that says, "I love this book."
Yeah.
That alone is worth the.
Good, yeah. It starts off with this is so late 90s. This movie, it felt like, and I liked it. It's good. But it starts off with Ben Stiller like in a toilet, like shooting heroin, because Jerry Stahl's a junkie.
That's the whole purpose of the book, right?
Well, it was a movie. I didn't read the book.
Okay, but I assume it's I've heard it's like a Bukowskian type into L.A., but it's drug culture. He's
kind of like doing like a monologue, and I'm like, ugh. And then that feeling went away. He's really good in this movie. He's really good in it, and it's not. He doesn't do the. It was just refreshing to not have the. Yeah, it's so tiresome, man. It's a great performance. It does a good job.
You think when he fired Janine Garofalo, he went, "Oh, you're gonna cry, you little tears for? Oh, you're gonna leave the movie, and little oh, go home, you little car."
And she's like, "Fuck, suck my cock, fuck you."
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you're having fun on my little movie. Oh, poo to you. Goodbye, bye.
And then he had to bring her back because Winona wanted her. That's so.
But
funny.
I see she's in this movie. She worked with a Mystery Man. They're obviously friends.
They're fine. You know how it goes. Like I said, when I drove over here, I just kind of wanted to get in the mood. I listened to that episode we did when
the Mein Kampf audiobook.
Yeah. Right. On chapter 10. It's pretty interesting. I'm interested to see how it ends. It's building to something.
Well, you're listening to us on the way over here?
It was the episode where we're talking about doing the short film, the Rick Derris.
Oh, okay.
And I was just thinking about it. I'm like, dude, you're funny. Like, so we were talking about that, and we're bickering. It's like you're clashing creatively. Like, you should fight almost.
Yeah.
You just don't want it to ruin. You don't want to go too far.
Yeah.
Be like, fuck this person. I never want to see him again. Comes to that point, whatever it happens. But it's good. Liz Hurley's good.
He's like, I think he was writing on Alf at the time.
They call it Mr. Chompers.
But is it a similar concept?
Yeah,
okay,
like
that's awesome.
Yeah, and he does a good performance. It does a good
I know
job
he wrote for Twin Peaks either.
He did one episode.
Okay.
And Mark Frost said the script was incoherent and unintelligible. But it really, like, man, doing heroin, and that's the other thing too, man. There's something about, I'm okay with getting a needle, but seeing people shoot heroin, I don't know how you fucking do it.
Yeah.
This movie does a good job of not overdoing how shitty drugs are, but also showing you, like, it fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Like, don't do drugs.
Yeah.
Like, don't it.
That's why he's such a great writer at I Fatties, because Fatty dealt with some morphine shit in his life. So it very well suited the material.
It's a crazy high.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of people say, like, don't do it because you'll get hooked the first time almost. Like, and
this movie's like a cautionary tale, this movie.
That's the other thing too. It doesn't come off like a wagging your finger. Like it's just very like, look, this is what happened. He did this. He's fuck up. He fucked up so many opportunities he had. He had great opportunities that he just fucked up. But he's really good in the movie. Everyone's good in it. It's interesting. It's not hyper miserable. Like, I'm fascinated. I was fascinated.
I really want to watch it, but again, because I liked I Fatty and I want to read Permanent Midnight first, and then it probably is, but it probably is also different. But yeah, I'm gonna come back to this one too.
But yeah, so
but because we were planned this, and I was like, I got some time. Let me just, you know what? I'm just gonna watch everything Ben Stiller's directed, feature film wise. By the way, I also should touch on. I haven't seen it in years.
God.
Heat Vision and Jack. A lot of people on Patreon were like,
I meant to die.
It's great. I haven't seen it in years. It's fantastic. It's one of those like, oh fuck, if this came out today, it would be this would be a fucking Netflix show. But great. There's another one that Conan did with Adam West, where he's like an old spy from the '60s TV show, but he's still like carrying on that persona. Great. Didn't get picked up. Shit like that. But I was like, I'm gonna watch Zoolander because I've never seen it.
Never saw it.
There's just something about this movie that always just like disinterested me. I don't know if it's the face. There's something about it.
A lot of mugging.
If I had seen this movie as a kid, maybe I'd have some fond feelings for it.
2001.
This is 2001.
I saw it in theaters. I didn't love it.
This is an incredibly overrated movie.
I agree.
The best...
A couple good scenes. The gas scene, obviously.
The best facet of this movie by far is Jerry Stiller.
Oh, hilarious.
It's great.
He has some stupid name,
Maury.
too.
He's the...
But it's like Marty Balls or something.
Maury Ballstein.
Is it Ballstein?
Yeah, Ballstein.
Yeah, it is. Maury Ballstein. Yeah, he's hilarious.
He's so funny in it.
He's not in it enough.
No.
It's not a good movie.
I
totally agree.
It's just... It's very... I'm going to say something controversial again. I think Mystery Men's better than this.
Agreed.
I think it's just a more interesting movie.
Totally.
It's just like, it's kind of like the whole joke of this is like, oh, male models, they're stupid, and it's like, how much can we milk out of that?
And it repeats itself over and over, and it's broad in a bad way. The Will Ferrell stuff's all right. There's also that thing where he's like doing the brainwash thing, and it's like silly images.
This is like the worst of Ben Stiller type shit for me. It's just the whole. There's like he's got the Vince Vaughn and John Voight play his father and brother in the mining town that he tries to like.
Kind of funny.
It's just like, I don't know, the face, the blue steel thing. I think again, because I just completely avoided this movie at the time it came out, it was never going to have the same impact. And
it hit differently, I think, like you're saying, for people that saw it when it came out.
It has funny moments.
It definitely.
Again, Jerry Stiller is great.
You're right. Like the concept of like, isn't the world of modeling silly? I'm like, I guess.
You know who? Shit. It's again a time capsule, but you know who pops up in this movie?
David Bowie.
Donald Trump.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like Derek Zoolander. He's a fantastic model. We all love him. It's like one of those things. Like there's a red carpet interview, and it keeps cutting back to different people,
sure.
and it's him who's just like, he's great.
Mr.
He's great.
New York.
We're gonna bring back Zoolander. We're bringing him back. Zoolander 3.
You can't make Zoolander without Stiller. You can't do it. Man, I gotta really work on it. He's gonna be around for a few years. I gotta. It's the hands. You gotta sniff. Oh, where I don't want to.
Yeah, you're a little too.
I'm stuffed.
All right,
always stuffed.
But that should aid the.
You think it would?
You gotta go for Friedkin. You have to talk about the. I don't give a fuck what Al Pacino says. I don't give a shit. That's
not bad.
You have to kind of.
You get the lips and the head.
But there's a cuts to him and he goes, Derek Zoolander I really admire and respect him.
You ever see Trump doing, it's before Your Favorite Dial of Destiny came out, and there was all the rumors of a female.
Oh, yeah, it's hilarious.
You can't.
Because I don't even know,
why
like.
Do you care?
I've had that clip isolated. I don't know what it's from, why he felt compelled to comment.
Just did it.
But it's like him in his fucking office, and there's shit all over the desk. It's all fucking, and he's like, they're making Ghostbusters with all women, and they're remaking Indiana Jones with women. You can't do that.
It's so funny. Oh boy.
What if make Indiana Jones male again? That was the make Ghostbusters female again. We're gonna dig up Harold Ramis. We're digging up his corpse for the next film. They're bringing him back. Yeah, it really does put a stamp when you see him pop up and shit. Because it was like, hey, we need like you need like a wealthy person to like add legitimacy to this character. Who do you got? Warren Buffett.
I always think every once in a while I'll see him doing something presidential, and I just think of that fucking Pizza Hut commercial.
Oh yeah,
he's like, we eat the crust first now, Melania. It's stuffed crust, and he's got like a bow tie on.
They've scrubbed it from the internet. You ever seen that? It's to the tune of
Colbert interview where he's
not that
stroking him off.
The Jump. But it's Donald Trump's House of Wings on Saturday Night Live.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
that is a really funny.
Yeah, and it works with the song, the Jump, and it's like the wing is hands down the best part of the bird. And then he goes, and if you like celery and carrots, it's on the house. It's ridiculous.
That's a late era funny SNL bit.
This movie, and you know what's funny too? It's that like. I know there's a sequel to this movie that's like loathed, and I'm like,
I've heard it's horrible.
It's like if I felt this way about this one, I'm not even going to attempt to fucking.
What was funny was I don't know my phone; it's over there, but it was one of our great little quick text exchanges. You were like, "Yeah, I'm watching everything you directed," and you were like, "Have you seen Zoolander?" And I'm like, yeah. And I can just tell by the way you asked it through a text. I'm like. Oh, we're gonna.
I'm not kidding. I struggled to finish this.
We're gonna agree.
It was like one of those things. Pause. How much is left? Like it was.
Well, it's too long.
It was just like so grating and so like.
You said you were watching everything directed. I'm like, oh, I'm like, you watching Zoo 2? And I think you just said no. Like,
yeah. No. Charles Grodin. So I married an axe murderer. No. No.
By the way, you did that video. I like, not that it's that video like. The numbers you did on that, I was like, damn. I'm like,
it's crazy.
And I'm glad. I thought it was better for your.
It was
as a visual thing.
Ryan is referring to as I was pushing for us to do So I Married an Axe Murderer on the podcast.
For whatever reason, I was just like,
I think that really hit the concept though, of like it's not.
It's an old school classic.
It is, yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But real quick, because I want to get back to the Cable Guy. I wanted to watch everything that Ben Stiller directed. I make sure. What is the other? What year is it? So he doesn't direct anything from what?
Till 2008.
Zoolander to Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, I didn't revisit that. Did you?
Yeah, I watched the director's cut of this movie.
Another movie where I was not. Everyone was in love with this movie. I thought it was okay.
Here we go. Let's get into it. And you didn't say it, so it's going to be tough. But it sometimes works better when I.
Well, the one thing that really rubs me the wrong way too, in retrospect, is that everything they're mocking in this movie, like they did it.
That's a big problem.
It's a big problem. We'll get it out of the way. Brilliant masterstroke to do the blackface.
It's not blackface.
It's brown. What do you want to call it?
I know, but it's when you say blackface, it implies I don't know.
The red lips and
there is like moments of that in the character, but it's I don't really know how to
playing he's anymore in this day and age. If you put color your face.
Yeah,
he accused fucking Zoe Saldana of doing it. She played Nina Simone.
I'm just tired.
And she darkened her skin.
It's a fucking satire of that. That's why it's... Anyway, great performance, by the way. Oscar-nominated performance.
Hilarious.
Terrific performance.
And honestly, the movie gets a lot of credit for that. It's a very funny idea.
Here's where...
Method.
So my experience with this movie was 2008. That was a huge summer for movies, by the way. It was like Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, I think Crystal Skull. Like, it was a big summer. And this movie. And so I didn't see it when it came out. This is one that I picked up on DVD, and it was like, dude, I'm having my buddies over in high school. Like, we're putting this on. We're laughing our asses off. This is the funniest fucking thing. The fake trailers are, quite frankly, really funny.
They were all right.
There's some... Here's an issue with it. In the Downey Jr. trailer, it's like this gay love story with priests or something, and it's like the Beijing Film Festival's crying monkey word. I'm like, they don't know how to commit to the bit in a way that's like it should have been like Academy. Like when you say crying monkey, it's like no, exactly. It should have been
everything's to the end,
and it's like MTV Award Best Kiss. It's like you're not committing to the theming of it. You're straying too far from it. Come back. You almost had it. The Fatties trailer is great. Like, that's some of the funniest shit.
And it's like, but he basically does that. They all became that.
I know.
Downey Jr. not so much.
Stiller is totally wrong for the Speedman role.
It's not good.
It should have been an action star playing it straight. It should have been an action star.
He's in shape and everything.
Honestly, it should have been Tom Cruise. The Tom Cruise studio exec thing does not work for me.
It's funny in concept.
It would have been funny if it was like who's the guy that played Cy Abelman?
Fred Mellowman?
Him and the prosthetics, it doesn't work. It's like it needed to be. These people don't understand how to play it straight. I always talk about this. It's too goofy for the comedy to work. Everything is too big, and it's like that part should have been someone that actually looks like a Hollywood producer.
I really agree with you.
It's
you know what? It's just dumb shit too.
And you're like, oh, that's Tom Cruise. The whole time you're like, oh, no, it's Tom. You're not enjoying it.
The Matthew McConaughey character is Pecker. It's shit like that. It's like,
yeah, that's actually a fun performance in it. He's like a good agent.
The name,
yeah,
it's like you said,
Speedman.
Like,
Nolte's good in it. Fucking Dan McBride's really funny in it.
Dan McBride was funny. It's because he's not in it.
Here's where this movie fucking it completely derails. So all these movies about where you have actors making a movie unbeknownst to, or like, you know what I mean? Like, look at Three Amigos and Galaxy Quest. Those two movies fucking expertly set those stories up. Like
Galaxy Quest.
They really layer it so it's like believable in many levels. Like it's just this. Dude, it's this giant, and I know nitpicky. I know that's what I'm doing right now. But it's this giant Hollywood epic with this big producer and the studio behind it. So the director, Steve Coogan, decides to film the movie. He's going to put hidden cameras in trees, and then
stupid.
Dude, he pulls out. I forget the model number. It's this Canon camcorder that uses DV tapes. Wait a minute.
And I remember seeing it the first time.
You're telling me that this fucking director is going to shoot a Hollywood blockbuster? Like, guys, you just give me something. Like, meet me halfway with this.
It killed the movie for me.
It kills it.
I think that killed the movie.
It kills it.
You're totally right. I haven't seen it in so long, and I felt no.
There is such
to revisit.
Here's the way you do that. I'm gonna bring them into the wilderness for like a bonding exercise. You don't need to. Not only that, because
we're gonna run through the script.
They're like, dude, it makes no sense because it's like, oh, we're following the map, and like, then so Steve Coogan blows up on the landmine. That's a funny thing. But then like, oh, he picks up his head, and like, it's just like, guys, what are you doing? Ben Stiller knows comedy. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Everyone involved in this movie knows comedy. Why did you the Simple Jack thing is hilarious. It's funny because then all the
yeah, that's another thing. You get full retard out of this. Which
funny
is still to this day.
The singing the song of the Jeffersons. The Jack Black character going nuts. Speaking of heroin, like that is a funny kind of thing. Yeah. He plays that very well. Just like And then you have like Mopey J. Baruchel, who's kind of like, it's fine.
I always think about his DVD thing.
Yeah, it's funny.
How porno drives technology. Yeah. That's funny.
The movie should have focused on that character though, and had the other ones been like,
that would have been interesting.
Because
it's too much Stiller.
It becomes character, and he's not. Again, if it should have been an actor who's known for doing these action movies.
He's not.
He's not.
I agree.
And it doesn't.
Totally agree.
It's funny, dude. There are really laugh out loud funny moments in this movie.
Totally.
Him with the half squad, whatever the name of the kid is that he like takes, and then at the end when he goes back and he's running across the bridge and the kid's stabbing him in the neck.
Yeah.
It's really funny. Yeah. It's just, again, if you're gonna. This concept needs to be more thought out, and it needs to be believable, and it needs to have stakes.
They really did you'll just go along with it.
Yeah,
because we're making this movie.
And I always look at it, I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm a film nerd. I can stand and say that, but dude, like just when he whips out, dude, it's a camcorder that I used in like 2002. I feel like
I can't believe it's coming back to me. I'm like, I checked,
and it's cameras in the trees, and I'm like, all right, like just you really could have just done it, being like, hey, you know what, we're going in for a team building exercise.
You're totally right.
And Nick Nolte still could have done the same thing of like, hey, you get those guys in the woods, and we'll show them what it's really like. It's there. But
so what you did the director's cut?
Just like 2 hours long. I don't even know what was in it that wasn't. There was a couple scenes where I'm like, I do not remember this. It's more McConaughey.
I remember you saying, you were like, are you going to do Tropic Thunder? And I'm like, I might. You're like, don't do the director's cut.
No, it's just, and you can see why it was trimmed down. And yeah, the Tom Cruise thing, it just doesn't work for me. Again, because like.
It really is. The joke is, look how silly he looks. And I think that was a lot of it. Was his idea.
And it's also like, no, there's people exactly like this. What's funny about it? Like this is how people are. This is how Hollywood producers are. So if you had someone a character actor in that role, it adds more legitimacy to it.
I like how people, and it didn't get much traction, they were trying to say it was like anti-Semitic. I'm like, no.
It's based on that. He even looks like the fucking guy. I forgot the guy's name. Yeah, it's one of those guys.
He got semi-Me Too recently. What the fuck was his name?
They fucking awesome. Is it Rudin?
Rudin.
Yeah.
He looks a lot like Rudin.
Yeah. Oh, he's totally doing But again, it's like I know everyone was like, Cruise was upset when those set photos leaked of him in costume, and he was like, oh, it was supposed to be a surprise. I'm like,
it looks funny.
It doesn't though. It like he's got like the Popeye forearms. He looks like he's got big. It just, and you're like, oh, it's Tom Cruise.
I remember watching the movie. I remember everyone was like, dude, it's so funny when he dances to that rap song, and I'm like, it's not. It's not.
It goes on forever.
And I'm like,
it's the end credits.
I'm like, this is not fun.
Here's the other thing.
Well, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I have to get this out because it's another, like, you guys have to, you can't commit to the bit, can you? At the very end of the movie, we cut to the Oscars ceremony.
Okay.
And they made a movie about the experience. That's how it wraps all together. And Ben Stiller's character is nominated for the movie. Presenting the award, Robert Downey Jr.'s character. In what fucking universe is an actor in one of the Best Picture movies reading the nominations for another actor in that movie?
Is the black character?
No, he's back to being blonde and but that would never happen.
That would never happen.
Just get a fucking one of your Hollywood A-lister buddies to do it.
Dude, it's so funny you say this because this movie, I do remember being confused.
That's why Galaxy Quest, even Three Amigos, it's like all that shit is really well thought out. It's a really great satire of the industry.
Yeah, I remember being incredibly confused at points watching this movie. Like, why? Like, it's that like you said, just think it through here. Like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And it's not funny either.
No, but the annoying part to me was how easily fixable it was. It's you can do the exact same story, and then they're just stranded in the wilderness.
It's so funny. This is 2008. This is when I started to be like, maybe I don't like what everyone else likes. Because they were
for me, it was,
they were creaming over this.
The 1-2 knockout punch of this and the Sony emails. I was like, I'm out.
I'm just like, maybe like, and I'm starting to soften too on movies because, like I said, it's very difficult to make movies.
Yeah.
It's not going to be perfect. And,
but in 2008, in this A-lister movie, like, this was not a hard movie to get made.
No.
So you guys really could have taken some time to, and there's funny, I need to stress that. That's what's frustrating about it, is that, like, it's really funny.
Really funny.
He's really funny. That was supposed to be Owen Wilson, who at the time did tried to kill himself, so he was out of it. Mm-hmm. But, like, dude, it's a really fucking funny movie at times. It's just, like,
as a whole,
it doesn't come together.
I totally agree.
It doesn't come together. There's just the Al Pacino's, the booty sweat, and one... Again, what the fuck is the down joke? Oh yeah, give him some of Alpa's ass water. That will cure himself. That'll make him feel better. It's just that performance.
It's funny.
It's the best part of the movie.
It's really good.
It's a really great Osiris. It's funny. It's a funny concept. I really wish they committed more to the bit in that movie because it just becomes too like everyone like is trying to overdo it.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. It doesn't hold up for me,
Real quick, one more, and I'm not going to make it long. Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
I couldn't do it. I remember when this was coming out. I'm like, this looks like
this movie is the cinematic equivalent of The Alchemist. It's like the
Coelho book.
It's like one of those movies that people like find deep meaning in. Like, dude, isn't this like a when was this original movie made?
50s.
Is this Danny Kaye? Who's in the fucking?
I always thought, it was Gary Cooper, right? Was it Gary Cooper or Jimmy Stewart?
No, it's neither of them.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure. It is Danny Kaye. Show about my instinct.
There you go.
I've never seen this movie, but I guarantee it's fucking not. It's probably just like a fucking slapsticky.
I heard it's classic.
Yeah, but I'm sure
there's a reason it got remade.
But this movie, it's like so serious.
It's sentimental.
It's sentimental. Yeah, It is a gorgeously shot film. He gets a lot of fucking terrific angles in this movie. There's Greenland is a big part of it. Really great location stuff. It's just like, about one of you're stuck in your desk job, go out and chase the adventure, blah, 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 type shit. As far as I know, the original Walter Mitty, it's about a guy who constantly daydreams and puts himself in. This movie doesn't do enough of that because the guy, I don't know. I don't want to I know a lot of people when this movie came out were like, wow, what an inspiring, and it is, again, it's a gorgeous movie.
I don't want to see that from Ben Stiller.
Like, they were trying to make this movie for decades. Yeah. Like, I bet even Jim Carrey was attached at one part. Yeah, I see right here. Jim Carrey and Walt Disney, they were going to do it in the 90s. Like, the time passed.
They've been trying to do a Harvey remake, I feel like, for years. Was that Carrey had to have been attached
to that? Point. You ever see the the incredible Mr. Limpet footage they did with him.
Yeah.
It was horrifying.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it a lot as a kid for some reason.
But they were
always on TV.
They were into doing this in like the 90s. Let's take these old 50s, 40s movies.
It's just
well, that's what I mean. This fucking it grew stagnant, and then so I will say I like that he at least kind of did something different with the concept, and it's not just this guy who's like envisioning himself. And there's a lot of fun in it. It's just like I really wish he would direct. And I've seen a little bit of Severance.
I'm just not interested.
I get
Everyone's loving
but
it.
it's cool. It's very well directed. He needs to not direct himself. That's the point I'm trying to make. Walter Mitty makes that clear because I think it's a really interesting idea and it's executed well. But him being in it, I don't know. There is Gene Wilder once said it's egotistical to write, direct, and star in a movie. It's also necessary, which I agree with as someone that's
I'm always trying to come up with concepts for me and you, and I always think about that. I'm like, should I write this for someone else? I'm like, why?
But at a certain point, like, I think he's better. I think the Cable Guy shows he's better as someone that can take a step back and concentrate as a director.
I don't think he's bad. And man, I had no interest in that Walter Mitty. I saw that in 2013. I was like, nope.
Yep. I own this on Blu-ray. I'm like, why do I own this? Oh, whatever. Yeah. I don't mean to be negative about these latter two Stiller movies. I
to be honest,
I think they're each of them are very visually. I wanted more.
I felt it watching Tropic Thunder. I can still feel that the first time being like, oh,
yeah, this is what we're doing.
And like you have to sit there and be like, no, everyone loves this.
Yeah.
I want to love this.
I know.
I want to laugh and be happy. And it's just you're just like, oh, fuck.
You know, it is. Again, I love the Fatties Fart 2 trailer because at least that like it's lit and it looks like your average comedy today, like very bright, overpowered lighting, and just at one point when he's going through the withdrawal and they've tied him to a tree, he's like, Alba, I got a part in you for the Fatties Fart 3. It's down the pike. Parting it for you if you untie me. He's just trying everything. He's like, Alba, I'll suck your dick. Like, it's funny. But let's jump back all the way back to 1998 for The Cable Guy, which Ben Stiller directs following, as we said, his run on the Ben Stiller show. I guess he's pretty hot coming off that. Looked like he could do some things visually. I did want to just make sure I'm not going to miss anything. I'm going to read from this Chris Farley book, though, to see how it gets set up, because Bernie Brillstein was involved. Okay, so they take the script. Farley's management, they get a hold of the script. Bernie Brillstein, they take it to Columbia. And he says, I brought Columbia this script, and without our knowledge, they had brought on Ben Stiller, Judd Apatow, and Jim Carrey, who wanted to turn it into a dark black comedy. They were going to pay Carrey $20 million, and it was the first time anyone had broken the $20 million ceiling. I was very blunt. I said, you just lost $20 million. So basically, they take the script, they completely transform it. Apatow rewrites it, makes it a lot darker.
Didn't get credit either.
No, because I was reading.
Had to get the arbitration with the guild.
Well, apparently it's tough when you're credited as a producer on something and you want the writer credit. The guild's position seems to be like, well, you're getting credited as a producer.
They have their rules,
that's kind of like a producer, So anyway, it does ultimately become a much different film than I think it was originally written as. But a lot of people in this movie that we touched on in this Ben Stiller discussion, we have Jack Black. Andy Dick pops up in a lot of these.
Everyone from the Ben Stiller show pops up.
Yeah.
Kirk, Garofalo, Andy Dick, both the Tenacious D guys are
George Segal.
Yeah.
So a really great cast in this movie, supporting cast. Even Leslie Mann, who I know, yeah, she works for what it is. But yeah, it's just, I don't know how to quite explain how it feels almost dreamlike, some of the portions of this, and there is like dream sequences, but like just the way I like the way Carrey looks in the character, the hair. It's a good choice. It's kind of like a Jerry Lewis type haircut, and yeah, I mean, I pulled a couple critic reviews because this movie really was like polarizing, and Jay Carr of the Boston Globe says, never mind that it doesn't always work or that the film's two halves never quite mesh. The Cable Guy essentially is a genie escaped from a bottle, except the bottle is a TV screen. Which it's kind of like this person unleashed.
That's where I agree. The two halves don't mesh.
Meaning, when do you think
it doesn't go dark enough, and it's not funny enough. So they're both watered down.
Yeah,
and then they're just kind of mashed together. Plus, there's this thing where they half-ass like the media satire of too much TV.
Yeah, we
all grew up on TV, and there's the really funny through line of the Sweet Twins trial.
Great,
hilarious.
And I don't know. I don't really. I wasn't. When did the was it Menendez?
Menendez, but at the same time, you're kind of commenting on OJ.
Right.
With like the obsession with like a big Hollywood trial.
There's some really fun, the scene when they're like, he's hearing the voicemail that he left, blaming the Asian people.
Asian gang.
They look very Asian.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Hysterical. Yeah.
And then the Eric Roberts TV movie.
That's great. And that's not only that, it's like, oh, that Eric Roberts would be doing that.
Yes.
This is what we mean about committing to the bit. If this were Tropic Thunder, in that role, it would be fucking, Owen Wilson doing it. Like, it wouldn't make sense. But here it's like Eric Roberts would be doing the TV movie.
You're totally right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like the movie is trying to do these three things at once, and it doesn't do any of them.
Yeah.
All, like, they should have picked one or really figured it out. Like I said, it's trying to be a broad comedy. This weird, not slasher, like stalker movie, and then a media satire.
The problem,
it does all three of them. Meh.
Yeah, the big problem with it too is that there's only so many times that like Broderick's character, who is Steven, can like get mad. Like he eventually has to force him out of his life.
Yes.
So like then you have to deal with like this. Oh, he's like getting revenge on him and ruining his life. And I love the scene with the family. We'll get to it when we get there, but I think that's a great.
So I don't know. You could say this to me. It's definitely a trope where there's two characters, and it's generally like a family scene or a dinner or something, and one character is really pissed off, angry at the other one, and the family is loving this.
Yeah, I mean, it's What About Bob? It's exactly that.
I actually love that trope, and it's really good here. And they're playing porno password, and he's like, I don't want to say nipple to my mom.
Well,
like,
it's the password is when he does nipple. He turns around, does this. He's laughing, and it's just like he's so uncomfortable. He's like, I don't want to do this. Yeah. It's like, okay, and then the father, come on, Steven, don't be so.
My mother's a grown woman.
Yeah. But again, it's there's enough to enjoy about this movie. I think overall,
I didn't hate it.
No.
Like I said, I was like, pick a lane.
Yeah.
And not only that, get it going. It takes forever to get going.
It does.
In like the turn.
But I will.
No, the turn comes way late.
The turn being what? That he's like now ruining his life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That should have happened way faster. And it doesn't. He's
I think
just an annoyance.
I think it's because they're like the blueprint for this is that What About Bob simplistic comedy script that they then just tried to make darker. So you're going to have those two styles fighting for dominance.
The thing is, he's just annoying.
I get it.
He's not doing anything. He's doing good things for him. They have a fun time at Medieval Nights. He goes a little overboard, whatever.
I think
he's a little annoying at the basketball game. I guess he's weirdly annoying, whatever. They have a fun party.
Yeah.
He has a good time. He gets laid. Oh, but it's a prostitute I ordered for you.
That's a funny scene, though. I think if Farley had played it, it would have been a more endearing character. And you could have seen them more easily becoming friends. I think that's the challenging part of this. It's that like
he doesn't want to be friends with them at all.
Right.
Never.
And you can understand why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's annoying. He's a clinger.
But it's again visually there's a lot of what is that called? De Palma uses it.
Dutch angle.
Not Dutch. There's a ton of Dutch angles, but it's when you have like two people in focus despite being
split focus.
Yeah. There's a couple when he's when first comes to the apartment, he's drilling in the wall. Yeah. There's a great split focus there. But yeah, as the story begins, Stephen Kovacs, that's Matthew Broderick, he's playing a cuck, our favorite type of character who has recently proposed to his.
I love how architect is always such a go-to.
It's like just like job. What do we do for someone that's like a?
Think of an architect.
Yeah,
because then they can stand in front of a model and like, oh, they're giving a presentation. Such an easy visual, go-to.
We find out he has proposed to his girlfriend and she broke up with him following that, and so now he's. Yeah, I know. Okay. So now he's moving out on his own. He's got a new apartment, and again, this is of the time, the all day waiting for the cable. I guess that's not really a thing that happens anymore. Or
I don't know, man. That's one thing that surprised me. I was like, wow, this was 96. It's basically 20 years later. That shit still kind of happens, dude.
I don't have cable, so I don't have to.
You still got to get the internet hookup.
Yeah.
I haven't moved out. I've been in my apartment for probably 3+ years. It's a fucking pain in the ass, dude, getting that guy in there. Like, you just want it over with. That still rings true. I was really shocked. I was like, wow, it's still kind of like that. They're better about showing up on time.
Sure.
Because I just watched the Seinfeld episode recently too at Plaza Cave.
Oh, yeah. It's also like now you can like, they'll share their location on your phone. You can like track where they're, that shit's like.
Yeah, it's not as bad, but it's still, when you're moving, it's a fucking pain.
Just to point out, I don't know, let me see, this will tell me. There was a Super Bowl commercial with Carrey reprising the role a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
But it was the same, shot from that peephole.
I watched the game, but I'm one of the I don't watch the commercials, and I never watch halftime shows.
But yeah, so Cable Guy shows up. It's Jim Carrey, who initially introduces himself as Chip Douglas, who is a character from My Three Sons, I believe.
I think so.
He looks like a chip, though.
Yeah,
it totally works.
Absolutely.
You just believe it. And what do you think of the lisp?
It didn't annoy me.
Okay.
Like I said, it's
character choice.
It's fine. I think he does it well. It's not like overdone. It could easily be, he could be lisping every word.
Yeah.
And he's a smart enough performer where he lisps the right words.
Yes.
So
it's not like grating too much. I didn't think it grating.
Not too much, no. And it fits the character. The character should be a weird, goofy guy. And like,
you know what else?
Sometimes it gets a little much with
the
lisp. But not, I was surprised. I thought that would have annoyed me. It kind of didn't.
But in this movie, Steven has a friend played by Jack Black, very slender Jack Black, and he's the one that first is like, "Hey man, give the cable guy $50, give you all the movie channels." Was that a thing? Did that like happen, or is that just something that?
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool that you could do that. Yeah. So of course he does that, and then like,
I guess you probably still could. I don't know, but
everything's piratable. It's just like
that, and everything is too.
I just don't know if the cable guy had that much power to do that.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh, for sure.
No wonder this guy has such a big head. He can, but there is like a recurring thing where it's like Chip acts real like reacts really bold and then goes, "I'm just kidding you." It happens a lot throughout this movie. Enough you're like, all right, okay, right. Like let's elevate this dynamic a little bit better.
To do that like once or twice.
But the first one or two times, like it's when he like I forget how he says it. But he's like
real prick or something.
Jerk
like
off.
That.
He calls him. Goes, "I'm just kidding you." It's like, all right, that's fine. But he ends up getting to the movie channels, and I forget how he phrased it. He's like, "Is there anything I could, yeah?" Or he's like, "If you want to hang out sometime," he's like, "How about tomorrow?" And so he ends up taking him to this huge satellite dish, it's like his mecca. He loves this fucking bring people here talking about it. There is like that's the other thing too. You can tell
has this little monologue he does a couple times.
It's fun,
which is 100% accurate. Like he predicted almost
everything. Playing video games with your friends in other countries, but. This is where you can see those seeds in the original script, which is probably like, okay, these guys actually become friends. Because there's a little bit of that here in that scene, like he's letting himself
lay together on the thing.
It's like that's a quick leap from everything we've seen with these characters before.
It's just weird because at one point I'm like, hey, you're kind of an asshole about the Broderick character.
Right.
It's like, well, be his buddy. Like, why are you leading this guy on? Like,
yeah.
Broderick doesn't, I don't know if it's not underwritten or what, but he doesn't sell the, like, it'd be great if he would just be like, I don't know, if this guy wants to be my friend. Like, I don't know.
Well, he also is, like, he tells him, he's the one that's like, hey, I saw Sleepless in Seattle's on, why don't you call, what is his, Leslie Mann's character's name? Robin. Like, call her, tell her to make a dinner, you're going to watch Sleepless in Seattle. Chicks love that.
And he takes
and
his
it
advice
works.
and it works perfectly. And like, right there, I'm like, that should be where like, this guy
knows his shit.
This guy's kind of cool.
And again, I bet.
But no, but after that, he doesn't think that.
Right.
So I'm like, you're a prick, Broderick.
Yeah. He is.
You are using this guy.
Yeah.
Like, so that doesn't work.
That's what I mean. I think the way Chris Farley, how that would have panned out was a guy, it's like, oh no, this is just like a sweet, endearing guy. That he might be a little abrasive. It's probably almost like a planes train situation of like, he's lovable, but he comes off a bit strong. And then at the end, you probably, this arc was probably the same. You find out there was a guy who was raised by television who's an absent parent. Like you probably had that same exact arc, just showcased in a different way. By the way, that's a great fucking arc to have in this movie. The fact that he watched cable. And by the way, another great touch. When we cut back to this flashback, we see him as a kid, Chip, just glued to the television, his mother going out on a date. Play Misty for Me is playing.
I caught that.
That's a great touch because the whole concept of Play Misty for Me is overbearing.
Play a song every time you call.
It's Jessica Walter. Yeah. It's great. I think that's Clint's first directed movie. That's great. But yeah, I mean, you can see the seeds of a good screenplay in there. It just, I think in making it dark, they lose some things and stuff like that. It gets confusing because you're like, wait, why is this guy being so nasty to a guy that's clearly just trying to help him? Like he might be a little, I don't know, invasive, but he's not.
Broderick's character needed to be endearing, and all that's endearing is like,
can he play endearing?
Yeah.
And what?
Ferris Bueller.
Ferris Bueller's not endearing, I don't think. I think the more endearing character is Cameron in that movie, but
I don't know.
That's also up for
You
debate.
don't like Ferris. He's kind of an asshole, but you like him.
Like Election, he's like, you really want to hate that guy?
Do you?
I think so.
Kind of sympathize with him.
Really?
A little bit. Yes, Tracy Flick was a.
Yeah, I know.
Say the C word on the show. I can't remember. I feel like you cut me off.
The advertisers might have a problem with that.
Oh, by the way, should we do Blue Chew? I think we could. I think it'd be funny if we did Blue Chew.
I turned down on the Hats Off
Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve, yeah.
Yeah, I advised you not to do that.
My agent here.
Yeah. Well, that and did you ever get the weed?
No, never got that.
Yeah, I would.
I just can't imagine being like, hey, and you can get 20% off all sex toys and dildos at adamandeve.com/Hats of Fire Entertainment. Now let's talk about the Goonies. Like, it doesn't.
No, it'd be funny on this show if we do it.
I feel like Norm doing the man great.
Exactly. Yeah, it would probably last one episode, but I think they advertise on anything, so why not? I'm still nervous to take one.
Why? A Blue Chew?
Yeah, because then it's like you don't want to rely on it. It's like any other drug.
At that point, we'll have to advertise a.
But then I'd be too curious if I'd be like, I gotta know.
Apparently, it makes. I've heard Steve-O, he hawks them. Like they make they make your mouth all blue. Like it's obvious that you.
Tastes awful,
sure, it does. Anyway, so he starts really.
About to go on a Steve-O too.
That's not. He starts inserting himself into more and more facets of Steven's life, including showing up to him and his buddies playing basketball. Which did you notice Joel Murray is one of the friends? No lines. It's just Joel Murray there.
No, he gets one line.
Does he?
Yeah, one.
It's a weird thing. You've also got Jack Black is there. Who else? We're leaving anyone out? It's a who's who this movie.
There are a lot of small roles.
Owen Wilson as the date later on, but again, you start to see like this. The basketball scene's weird too because it's like you ruined everything. You shattered. It's like
who cares?
Why just stick up your ass, dude? This is exactly the type of shit I was glad that Matador wasn't. And I don't know why I'm surprised. I've seen this movie before, but it's just like you want there to be a little bit of camaraderie.
Yeah, you make a good point because it's funny. You see this movie and it's got the reputation, and you think it's like, okay, Carrey's just annoying, and it's actually the Broderick character that saves the movie. He's just a drip. Yeah. He's just nothing.
Yeah,
and it's like I don't care about this guy at all.
I have my morals.
Okay, do you?
So. He ends up inviting. That's kind of like, oh my god, like this guy's being confident. He's taking Chip's advice. He's going to win back Robin. He invites her over for Sleepless in Seattle. She shows up. They're about to watch it, and of course the cable cuts out. And he's like, oh, I'll have to call the cable company.
And Chip had been leaving him like 20 messages.
Yeah,
before.
That's a fun scene where it's just like he comes home because we forget. Like, it must have been really nice in those days of the.
Answering machine.
Thank you. It's so far removed from my brain. I've even forgot what it's called. But like coming home, be like 11 messages. You're probably like, ooh.
Yeah.
It's like when you don't check your phone for a while and you've got like 20 texts. You're like, ooh.
One thing that used to drive me nuts when I was a kid was my parents, for whatever reason, I don't know, they wouldn't just get caller ID. We had an answering machine, and
they probably saw some news report about how it was like dangerous or something. Yeah. And it cost.
No,
it cost. Yeah.
It was,
my family is the same way.
I think it was frugality.
Yeah.
But anywho.
2 lines. What the fuck you need 2 lines for?
Right. But anyway, so anytime you'd call home, I don't have cell phone either. So you check in, all that shit.
Yeah.
Or you just need to get in touch. Hello. Please leave your... And it was like a thing. But
you didn't do the customary...
No. But you could talk over the message. So you could hear the person talking as the message.
Oh, yeah.
So it would always be like, pick up. Like, it was so annoying to have to hear.
I guess I never considered that. Everyone just accepted like the social norm of waiting for the message to. Yeah, because it's just
the one we had.
I'm sure they were different, but
I was like, we never got called.
We had the one. We had the one.
Got it.
We had the one. My mom would be like, "Thank you for reaching the Maroonies. You've reached, my parents' names." And I would go, and Joseph, like that type of weird shit. Everyone who probably called instantly hung up.
I think they let me do one when I was younger, and eventually I think my dad was just like, we'd take that off.
Anyway, so it's a great scene. He comes into his kitchen. There's one from Rob, and there's one from his mom, and then it's just like one after another. Pick up. Hey, I was using the hairdryer. I thought I heard the phone ring. It just goes on and on. It's a funny concept because he starts. This is where the panic sets in of like, oh my god. So him not answering kind of peeves Chip. But he still comes to save the day, fixes the cable, but says...
He's there, too.
Yeah, he's right there, ready to go.
In the hall.
He says, I think I owe you. He's like, all right, dinner tomorrow? And they end up going to Medieval Times, which... Is this a real place?
Oh, yeah.
Name Medieval Times?
Yes.
Okay.
There's one in Maryland, I think.
I'm shocked they let their name on the movie, though, because they kind of make it out to be...
Jersey.
No, it's real.
Here.
It is
There's
real.
one near us.
Lyndhurst, Dallas, Chicago, and Baltimore. There's one. That's really interesting though, because they make it out to be like a big joke. Like, that's where the Aubrey-esque Janine character is. She's the waitress.
I love when he's like, hey, can I get some utensils here? She's like, there were no utensils in medieval times. You want some more Pepsi? And he's like, there was Pepsi in medieval times? She's like, dude, I got a lot of tables. Like, I felt that line. I'm
just surprised again because it's like, one, like I would understand if these things existed in like big, like I'm sure, I know in Orlando there's a ton of these things, but like just stuff like you have one like in mid-America where there's no major attractions. It's like, this is every week for these people.
I've always wondered that about medieval times. I'm like, are they doing shows every night?
I guess, right? Maybe just weekends, but it's like the food can't be very good. It's probably like batched out.
The one.
Maybe we should do a video of that. You want to go?
Sure.
How far is Lyndhurst?
It's not that far. It's like an hour, if that. I know someone that goes there for their birthday.
Who the fuck do you know that goes to Lyndhurst,
about it.
New Jersey? Do they go to medieval times for their birthday? Yes. No, they just love the town of Lyndhurst.
They fucking love medieval times. I don't know.
An hour and a half.
Okay.
It's by Hoboken. It's by New York, so we're gonna have to do a New York trip. If you want to do a New York trip, maybe we can.
We've been talking about stuff we got to film. I threw it to Joe. I was like, maybe we just go to like locations.
I would love. Let's go to medieval times.
You want to?
Yeah.
All right.
And then we'll joust.
Our videographer.
Yeah.
Dude, if we can hook that up,
that'd be great.
Somehow.
Yeah. But anyway, Andy Dick is like
the king.
He's another one. When used properly, it works.
Super funny.
But when it's not,
show, we touched on Tom Green recently. He had a show on that same.
Oh yeah, where they played each other.
Well, there was the Andy Dick show. Dude, it was hysterically funny. It was really funny. At least I remember it being.
I remember he did this dog shit Christmas movie when I was growing up, where he was like had a baby. He had something like it's like special delivery or something, or he was like he had a carrier and it was him and a baby, airplanes and shit.
Yeah. That doesn't ring a bell.
Anyway, but like when he's like this, when it's a little, I love the second beat to this when we see them later watching the television. It's great. The whole medieval times thing, I'm just surprised that this brand let them use the name because they make it out to be just like a bunch of losers and a joke, and everyone hates their job there.
Sure,
but it's a pretty funny scene. It goes on a little bit too long, yes. But I do like that it wraps up with Steven enjoying himself and enjoying the friendship. You want that more in this movie.
Well,
You're
whole
almost
time too. If the movie doesn't get this across very well, he's trying to be like, "Hey, I don't really want to hang out with you."
Uh-huh.
And I think, does he do it after this, or is he kind of like, "I had a good time"?
He doesn't. When all the equipment shows up in the apartment, that's when he starts to like really start to back off. And that's where the movie starts to really, that twist kind of happens. Mm-hmm. So yeah, after this, things are going really well with Robin. He's winning her back. Work's going well. He's, you always got to have the thing, the big deal. He's getting the big deal.
The annoying boss.
And eventually, he seems like he's developing a good friendship with this guy Chip. Comes home one day, discovers a fucking huge television. One of those things you could have in your entertainment system is like multiple different boxes and a karaoke machine and all this shit. Sure. And he's like, I'm not comfortable with this. You must take it back. So of course it's just like, dude, he's like, I knew a guy. He hooked me up. Like, why would you like take it? Like, why are you being such a fucking? Why? He's a cable guy, and you've seen so far that he has the hookup places. This guy.
That spread at that time was his 96. It's thousands of dollars. I wouldn't feel comfortable taking that.
But he's shown at this point that he has connections places.
Right, but it's still a guy trying to, he doesn't want to be friends with him.
All right, it's fair enough.
But you don't take anything. That's like prison.
But
don't take anything from anyone.
He's like, well, we got to break in this karaoke machine before we get back. So they have a big party, which is a great,
it's a good
collection of weird people.
I'm like, you got to get me to somewhat like these characters. So it's like, he's on the phone with Robin, and she's like, he's like, oh, what do you mean you're going on a date? I thought everything worked out. I'm like,
I thought we were patching things up.
Like, she's going on a date? Like, fuck her.
Yeah, it's.
I was like, and this thing, it's dumb.
You just hate Leslie Mann.
I really don't. She's totally. In no way was I annoyed with her in this movie, like as a performance or whatever. She's fine, like whatever. You know what it is? It really is. There's obviously the Apatow connection. Guilt by association.
No, you just picture that Marwen movie. That really fucking rubbed dirt in your face.
No,
yeah,
it's really, this is 40. That's what I do.
I said I don't have a problem with that. I haven't seen it.
That movie's repulsive to me, dude.
Wait, is she in the bubble?
She might be.
Of course she is. We don't have to.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I really don't have an issue.
When
with
did they meet? Did they meet
it might have been this, or it was.
Let's take a look.
Maybe sooner. Hey, I'm the producer. My name's Judd. What a stupid name.
I know. I heard
he's gonna.
Yeah, he I can so picture him doing this. Apparently, on their first date, he took her back to his apartment and showed her heavyweights. It's like that's totally. I mean, I've done shit like that. You know. Hey, you like a movie podcast?
Hey, I made this in college. I've done it.
Hey, you a fan of John Candy? I made this video on the internet.
Dude, all you got to do, man, is look at this DVD. You see that name?
Oh, yeah, there you go. Sorry, I'm at the personal. Apatow, yeah, they met on the set of this. So, man, in a field populated with Matthew Broderick and Jim Carrey and Jack Black, she went for the...
You think Jim Carrey would take a run at her? He's kind of a pussy hound.
But, yeah, anyway... It starts.
But that really bothered me. I was just like, fuck her. Like, I don't care. I don't care about these two.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about them.
I do like who she's going on a date with. I think that's a fun performance.
That scene is fucking hilarious.
The date scene itself or the fight?
So the whole thing.
Yeah, that's where you're like, good. This is the type of date you should be on.
Yeah, kind of.
Because he's a dick, this guy. He doesn't care.
All of a sudden he's like, hey, babe, where's that chicken, bro?
Yeah.
Like, but dude.
It's because in these scenes, right, you know, there has to be, you can't have an innocent character getting beaten up for no reason just because he's on a date with a woman he doesn't know is recently single.
That's funny.
But in the 90s, we're not doing that. You have to add that line in. And even when he gets up from the table, it sounds ADR'd. There's like come on, what's the deal with that chicken? It's like, I feel like they felt like you had to keep hammering in this guy's an asshole.
I think it would have been funnier if he was the nicest guy ever.
That's the meet the parents thing. That's why that's really funny.
Movie bothers me.
Is
that it should be meaner. It's not a mean enough movie.
He's obsessed with Jesus in that movie. The meet the parents. He's the JC. He's the carpenter.
Yeah, Meet the Parents blew me away when I first saw it. I remember I've probably told this before, but it was me and my cousin. We were going to sneak in to Get Carter, the Stallone movie. Still never seen.
Is that Payback? Is that the same story as that, or is that something different?
It's a remake of Get Carter.
Oh, okay.
Michael Caine, which I also haven't seen. Which I really should have heard.
Parker Carter, it's all.
But it was
Mel Gibson in Payback. I think is named Carter. Someone's named Carter somewhere. Walker. I don't know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, this Walker.
I know
that really scrambled my head. But for whatever reason, sometimes because you buy a ticket to something else, Meet the Parents, which I didn't want to see. I was like, that looks stupid, and then you just walk in to Get Carter. Sometimes you couldn't do it. Like, there was a guy there. You were like, fuck.
It was hard, though.
We got nervous, and we said, fuck it. Like, we'll just go see Meet the Parents. Man, I was thrilled that we didn't get into Get Carter. I was hysterical. The first time you're seeing it, I'm like, this is great.
That's really when the started.
But yeah, almost is really funny.
He's really funny in that.
When, he's like...
movie probably arguably tarnished and ruined Robert De Niro's reputation, because I was like, oh, he can be funny. Let's put him in funny shit.
Perhaps. One thing we really got to revisit.
Also, getting divorced might have had more something to do with that than the movie.
I'm going to kill myself for not being able to remember this guy's name. Meet the Parents is kind of a remake.
Yes, we talked about this. Dude, it is a remake. It's not kind of. It's,
is hilarious. That whole story, we should do that. That might be
also
one for our little...
Do you remember when we did the Legacy sequel pitch where I was going through every franchise pitching Legacy sequels too, just for the shit of it? And I pitched Meet the Parents and I said, oh, it's going to be now his kids getting married. What do you think they're making currently?
No way.
I swear to God.
Really?
They're making a new one. Jesus Christ. And listeners, I'm wrong about Happy Gilmore. I'm pretty confident. The trailers did not make it look like I was right on Happy Gilmore. I think this one... You're going to have someone like a fucking... It's not going to be like a schlubby guy. It's going to be like a real attractive... It's going to flip. Where Ben Stiller wants to be like the way De Niro was to him, but he can't... The son-in-law is going to be the alpha.
You're totally right.
It's going to be like Glenn Powell.
You're 100% right.
Yeah, and he's going to be like, I can't catch a break. I wanted to be...
You're so right.
De Niro is going to hit it off more with the son-in-law than him. It's going to be a whole thing. Anyway, man...
But
fuck this industry. It's just it's so easy. It's just so easy.
We gotta cover that Meet the Parents. Original.
Yeah, we will.
It's so good. It's really funny. And guess what? It's uncompromisingly dark.
That's what these...
Which you gotta do it, man. You gotta go all the way. You can't half-ass it like this movie does. But man, it starts off, you see his feet walk in, and it's the Superfly theme. and it's just Carrey walking through the restaurant. He's got, he's doing the Carrey walk.
He looks like Freddie Mercury.
When it cuts to him with the fucking handlebar mustache,
yeah.
and the ridiculous glasses, it's so funny. He goes right to the bathroom, and he whips out the 20 in front of
It's a 50.
Was it a 50?
It's a 50, okay. Yeah. He means He's business.
Like, you've been working really hard. Take a break. And the guy doesn't say a word. He just takes the money and leaves. Dude, hilarious.
It's also, here's an example of when you're writing a comedy like this. You don't need to explain how he found out she's on the date, where the date is, who the guy is. It just works. It works with a comedy like this. Sometimes, like, even when when he shows up at the door when the cable goes out, it's like things like that really set you're in this different, like, laws of the universe kind of don't exist here. This movie does that well.
To a degree, yeah. But it should. You're right.
I'm surprised there wasn't more of him coming at Jack Black's character, fucking up his life or like kidnapping him or some shit like that.
There should have been a scene there.
Yeah,
with that.
There might have been. I mean, who knows? But yeah, this is a funny scene. He knocks the shit out of. It's what I mean about Stiller knows how to capture comedy. There's a lot of great. I've noticed he does this thing in a lot of the movies he directs where instead of like when you cut to it, seriously, it's like when Ben Stiller's in the movie, this goes out the door where it's like they cut to a character specifically to like cue the audience to laugh. But in this, there's a lot of scenes where it's just a wide shot. You see both characters in the frame. That scene where after the party where he's letting him know it's a prostitute, it's the two of them.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. You don't need that. Here's a shot. It's like cues the audience to laugh almost. And a lot of Stiller's comedy I've noticed lets the comedy be more organic.
I know what you mean.
The party scene. So yeah, they're gonna have a big party because the karaoke machine.
There's a bunch of old people.
It's a really like there's the cops there.
Yeah.
It's
Charles Napier, which doesn't get enough to do, unfortunately.
And at one point, there's he's like, check out that girl over there. She's checking you out, Stephen. And they hit it off. And
I like how they're all preferred customers,
right?
Because it tells you a little bit about wuthout telling you anything. He's giving free cable to all these people.
That's how he's
wrote people into his world,
his social life. He's buying friendships. But the musical number here, I think it's a lot of fun. It's just like it's bizarre enough, and the song choice is great, which is
this was a big selling point. I remember when the ads and stuff.
Was it?
It's one somebody loved.
I thought it was "Light My Fire" by the Doors. I misremembered it being that, but it's great. And of course, he ends up going. It's really funny. Him and this girl end up in his bedroom. She's giving him a massage. At one point, he bursts in. All the old people are dancing in his bedroom, and he's just like taking Polaroids. And
that's going to be a good one.
Yeah. The morning after scene when he wakes up, this it might be the best scene in the movie. I think it's a really, again, the way it's shot, the date scene's funny too. But when he's like, man, she was great. That was so much fun. Thank you. And he's like, no problem. My treat. Like, what do you mean you're a treat? And it's like, yeah, it's a prostitute. Yeah. But the funny reveal is that I checked her out. Like, I tried her first. That's what like really puts me over the edge of like,
where she's clean.
Yeah, forces him out again.
I as a mule, whatever.
So just I think any other person would just be like, oh, I can't believe you're such a no, get out! My innocence has been tarnished.
I'd be a little pissed. You don't want to get roped into banging a phone.
I know, but it's like, dude, he should have been a little bit more aware of what was going on. I don't know, because he even says like, you think girls like that would hang out with guys like us? So this is where like the big catalyst starts, but he is like, now he's going to get revenge on, and this is where Ryan is saying with the equipment, all of a sudden the police burst in.
He's at work.
Yeah, they come in, and that's Charles Napier back again, pulls him out. I do like the scene when he comes to visit him in prison, pretending to be his attorney, and he puts his nipple on the glass. What are you doing? You're going to get me killed, Jesus Christ. Yeah. It's fun. It's a really funny scene.
He gives him the look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
it's Midnight Express.
Yeah.
Oliver Stone won an Oscar screenplay. It's not a terrible movie.
No.
It's just not great.
No, and then, again, he ends up getting...
Billy. Dude, that was one thing. I'd probably still do that.
It's a funny scene. After that whole sequence, he gets out of prison, and this is where he and Robin are going home to have dinner with his family, and he answers the door. Chip answers the door. And this is that scene, like you're saying, it's like that What About Bob level of... The whole family loves him and finds him so charming.
It's hilarious. I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's...
It's
they're
so...
all like really George Segal is so funny.
He's so funny in it.
He's just a funny guy.
And even Odenkirk in this is like perfect, understated. I love when Steven does the thing. He's like, you're going to get out of here. I'm going to, and he takes the Polaroid out of him with the prostitute. And he's like, oh, Jesus Christ. And they end up.
But he's wearing like the cardigans, like the Mr. Rogers. Like, it's the tie.
Just like ends up this suggesting they play like naughty password, porno password, and it's just this fucking scene. It's so the way like he's moving his jaw and the way the comedy is framed, it's like right up in his ear. Like the password is. Yeah, it's just like the way he enunciates it, and I'm not playing dirty passwords with my mother. It's the whole fucking movie. But really funny. It goes from. What is the first password?
It was vagina, then nipple, and then he didn't want to say it, but I assume it was clitoris.
Yeah, you know that little thing. No, I can't say that to my mother.
It's all just flesh, Steven.
And of course, it boils down to him punching Steven. He's almost asking to be hit, and then turns the whole family against him. And this is when he has had Jack Black in the background's character has done some work, called the cable companies, find out there's no guy named Chip Douglas. The last act of this movie, it's a bit much. He ends up like kidnapping Robin. They end up at the satellite dish. The big verdict in this, what is it, the Sweet Brothers, is happening.
That I liked.
It's funny. It's a good way to.
Everyone is like waiting.
Glued to television.
Yeah,
the shot of the guy with the book is a little hokey.
Kyle Gass.
Is that how that was? Man, what did Jack Black suck up his weight?
Jack Black did blow up.
He did the Kyle Gass diet plan after this movie.
Seriously,
Jesus. I was at the movies a while ago, and at that Minecraft. I don't watch trailers on the internet anymore. I just won't do it. But if I'm at the movies, they come on. That Minecraft trailer came on. He's got like, I don't know if his shirt is tucked in. Man, he looks unwell.
Yeah,
he looks unwell. You see him here, you're like, Jesus, man, like you were.
He was younger. Come on,
yeah,
so long.
It's also got to be. You realize. Anyone's worked in the film sector can correct me if I'm wrong, but like all the food is free, right? Like you just got tables of snacks and food and cookies.
Services.
That's free though for the actors, right?
Paying for it, no.
Right.
Yeah,
so you're just grabbing
the studio or whatever,
a cookie here, some chips there, a bag of Doritos there. That, after a couple decades of film acting, it's going to catch up with you.
Yeah.
But
this is what I'm saying too. Like I like that when like the TV cuts out and he reaches for the. Excuse me.
Man, that really came up out of nowhere.
The timing on that was, your face was perfect there. He's like, he looks at the book and starts reading it. I liked that, but I'm like, where was this media satire the whole movie?
Yeah.
Like, it was just, sometimes I feel like movies think it's enough to be like, we're doing a satire. It's like, well, do it.
Yeah.
You can't just pretend. The Swede trial was so funny. I'm like, it's peppered in
the right amount.
Right. They didn't need to overdo it, but a couple other elements of the media saturated world we're existing in would have been better, and it wasn't there. Because they're also trying to suggest.
Is that though because just like we were there at the time, so people already had an understanding of it? I mean, right after that OJ trial, it's got to be like fresh on your mind just how obsessed with cable everyone is.
I'm telling you, the movie wasted too much time on like.
I suppose.
Does he hate him? Does he what does he? They really fumbled in that.
Well, it's kind of the same. And I even I was thinking about this because apparently like maybe Ben Stiller was even toying with playing Steven himself, and I'm like, maybe that would have been a little bit better, honestly.
Might have been.
Because he does play like frustrated, like kind of a little bit better. Because Broderick, it really is just like the same fucking scene just happening in different set pieces and it's staged differently. But it boils down to the same thing, which is like,
it's the same resolution every time.
I'm kind of charmed by you. This is fine. Like, what? How dare you get out? Like, it's that kind of over and over again, or variations on that.
And like I said, I looked at it, it was like 35 minutes left, and I'm like, it took this long to get here? I'm like, what the fuck, man? His life should have been falling apart way quicker.
Yeah.
And it should have been falling apart. Like, he just goes to jail. Like, that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Like, mess with his life more.
Hey, look.
He should lose his job. Then he should go to jail. Then Rob.
The job shit's not. Oh, he does. We forgot about because they tape him. He has the camera in his fucking.
Right. It's like, oh, I hate.
But at that point, it's like too late. It's
That's
like
what I'm saying. It's super late.
Yeah.
He should have. Everything should have been.
The paranoia and mania should have really been played up more. Like every aspect of this guy's life, he should have gotten kicked out of the apartment. He should have ended up on the street.
And every time something bad happens to him, Chip's there to pick up the pieces and help him. That's what this movie really fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you gaslight or whatever you want to say and really ingratiate yourself into someone if you're that kind of stalker. Robin doesn't want to talk to him anymore. Well, Chip's there to help him out. He gets him another woman, whatever. He loses his job. Chip's there to maybe help him get another.
That's like the psychosis of the character.
He loses his apartment. Come move in with me, even though it seems like he lives in the van.
Yeah. Down by the river.
But there wasn't enough of that, and that's where the movie suffers.
Yeah.
But
I think when you're looking, because we're going to segue very shortly now into Jim Carrey's career around this time, I think it's I think it's a good performance by him in this. I think Stiller obviously knows how to direct comedy. I like him as director when he's not directing himself, and I think him being the Sweet brothers in this, it's perfect. It's not super, it's not heavy. It's like maybe 2 minutes in total of screen time. It's what you want. Like, this is a Hitchcockian director cameo that works. So maybe playing Steven would have been a bad. I think even Apatow wanted to direct this, but they weren't sold in his career at the time.
Right.
So I'm sure he was helping out behind the scenes, and if anything, watching
Stiller's a better director.
Watching the early Stiller stuff, watching Heavyweights, and watching this, I'm like, man, Apatow, like, yeah, for a time that improv shit it worked, but like to rely on it for every fucking movie you make, and let you carte blanche, not fucking pace your movies in a good way. It's like you see in Heavyweights and this, it's like, fuck, this guy knows how to write comedy.
He can't pace.
But he can't pay. He might, maybe he's just a bad director, honestly, because he's a funny writer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've seen him do 100%. Good stand-up. Like, it's just, those bloated fucking long movies really fucking sour these early works that are fucking dark and twisted but funny. And and I wish he would get back to doing stuff like that, doing stuff like Heavyweights, doing stuff like this. Like, yeah, not every aspect of The Cable Guy works. It's a far superior film than the majority of shit he's done in his career. I mean, what would you? I'd say it's better than Knocked Up.
I haven't seen the Knocked Up and 40-Year-Old Virgin. I remember being pretty good.
I bet 40-Year-Old Virgin wouldn't even hold up.
I have a feeling you're right.
It might be like a Tropic Thunder thing for me at least, where it was like you were just so enamored at the time that this concept was fresh. Is it really
going to be that funny when he's getting waxed?
Probably not. Is Jane Lynch saying ball sack going to be like that's? I feel like that's so much of that movie, and so many of those people have been doing what they did in that movie for decades now.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, the only one that escaped. I mean, I feel bad for him is that Romney, who's the black guy.
He's so funny in that
Malco. He's the only one that just like did nothing.
He did a couple. I know
he did the Love Guru.
He did the Love Guru, and I feel like he did something. He should have been a bigger star.
He's one of the funniest ones in that movie.
He's maybe the funniest one in that movie. He's really funny in that movie.
But there probably was a time for it. Like it was at the time. It was like, oh, these are all fresh new people. We hadn't really seen them before. It felt fresh. Yes. How long is this movie, by the way?
With the Cable Guy?
No, 40-Year-Old Virgin. This movie's an hour and 16 minutes long.
Yeah, it's too long.
Is that an hour and 54 minutes? Is that math correct?
No.
How much is 2 hours? 120.
Yeah.
Minus 4 is what? 156. It's an hour and 56 minutes. The 40-Year-Old Virgin is almost 2 hours long.
It's a too long way.
Dude, Walter Mitty was like an hour and 55, and I was like, all right. Guys, pace yourselves. I know you think you can get away with it. It's like the prime example when Curb Your Enthusiasm went to shit, when they started making those episodes like 42 minutes. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Tank the show.
Your scientists were so preoccupied whether or not they could.
There's someone they were watching, they were like, I need something to watch. I put on like the last season of Curb or whatever. And they were like, I had to turn it off. And it was Larry arguing with like Siri while driving.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've seen this.
What? No, I'm saying no. I want to. No, you want to go? I want to go here. I just let the things and the people. I'm tired. Like that's every fucking thing. After a while, once he got in on the joke,
terrible. Should have ended with the Seinfeld season.
I agree. Yeah, you said that a while ago. I'm like, no, there was a couple. Now I think back, I'm like, no, that was the last properly reined in good season. Yep,
it was perfect note to go out on. It was done after that, and the season after that, I remember being all right, and then after that,
well.
I didn't even bother with the last season.
When all's said and done.
It sucks to say. It was a great show.
Yeah. A recommend on The Cable Guy or not?
Worth a watch.
I recommend this movie. I think, especially if you're
Carrey fan, for sure.
A Jim Carrey fan and kind of slept in this one or haven't seen it in years.
Or think it's a piece of shit or something. It's not.
It's not. No.
It's not.
But honestly, the big takeaway from me on this one is revisit Heavyweights or visit Heavyweights. Like I'm serious. Like that.
Show it to your kids.
That's a way better movie in every way. It's better structurally, it's funnier. Yeah, I mean, in Zero Effect, that was a good discovery. I'm glad we checked that out. Some of that Ben Stiller stuff was really enjoyable.
Maybe revisit it. Yeah, I was glad to watch it. Pretty much everything.
Yeah. But next,
Rowdy Bites,
Rowdy Bites was,
Winona Ryder is very pretty in that movie.
It's better than Chasing Amy.
I haven't seen that forever.
Yeah.
Man. I have a feeling that doesn't hold.
I know. There's so much of that stuff is so of the time. That's the problem.
Yup.
But next time on the show, we're going to revisit a movie that's been on our radar since we started the show, which is Brewster's Millions, the remake starring Richard Pryor and John Candy, directed by Walter Hill. So we're going to talk about...
watch that original. I can dig it up.
There's a lost Fatty Arbuckle one. I believe there's a silent that's lost.
It's based on a book, too.
Mm-hmm.
Let me try to find that.
And anyone on Patreon, let us know in the comments there, Walter Hill stuff you recommend, because he's got such a lengthy career. We obviously would love to cover as much as we can, but we're going to see what we can get to. But So let us know the big ones you think are worth checking out for him, or the ones that you think are slept on.
And
not watching Dead for $1.
What's that link?
That's patreon.com/almostcookclassics. So we're heading right now to talk about Mr. Jim Carrey. For those of you Spurs over there, we're going to see
40 plus episodes.
Let me finish one fucking thing on this episode. I'm trying to wrap up the episode and you're still jumping on me. Let me finish it. They understand. There's 40 bonus episodes. We're going to head over there now.
It's $5.
We're going to see, and I've lost the train of thought.
Let's go.
I've lost my train of thought.
Ace Ventura movies, some Andy Kaufman.
Going to have fun. That's going to be over there on Patreon. For those of you who support us, we will see you over there.
Thanks for listening.